Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. That's right. Jump up. Get out of your bed right now. I need you to be halfway to the bathroom with your teeth already brushed, ready to step off in any direction. It is way too early, I know, to be this loud on a Friday, but too bad because this is the way too early for a Friday podcast, and I'm going to be approximately this loud for the next 3 hours. You're welcome. And I want you guys to hang out with me, stick around, and I'm going to go with you as you do your morning routine. If you are here for the first time, welcome. Welcome to the party. Go ahead, hit that like button for me. Hit subscribe. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're knocking on the door of 30,000. So I need you guys to help me get there. If you've already subscribed, I appreciate you. But then I need you to share this video with somebody else that needs somebody to wake them up each and every Friday morning. And I will definitely do my part and wake everybody up for that. We got a packed show today. So let me tell you what's going on. Of course, we got the Friday dance party. And we've got some cool home gym dance videos that have been submitted to me on Instagram. So we're going to be jumping into that in a second. We also have the illustrious powerlifter, strongman competitor, my guy, Conor Reilly. And he is, it's nighttime for him. So he is completely unaffected by the fact that I'm this loud because he's been up all day. And he's actually in the military, so he doesn't care if I yell. But he's going to be joining the show first and kicking things off. We're going to be talking about powerlifting and strongman and competing in those things. And then we're going to be doing a couple of new segments. I've got news and other things. Just tell you guys about some stuff that's going on in the home gym community or that will affect the home gym community. Ask you guys some questions about what you feel about the news when I tell you about it. And then at 8:30, my guy Greg Santarsiero from G Code Nutrition is going to join the show, and he's going to be talking to us about a brand new product as well as about his recent trip to the Arnold. We're going to, of course, we're going to check out your home gym workout videos, and I'll see if I can get Greg to check them out with me, and we'll both react to them along with you guys. And then finally, the man himself, Jay Benoit from Exponent Edge, will be joining us. He's going to be talking about his Infinity Bench and some of his other products, but I definitely going to talk about the Infinity Bench because I thought that thing was going to break the internet when I saw it. I was like, what is this? What have you been cooking up in the lab? Reached out to him and I say, man, you got to get on here because we got to talk about it. So we are definitely going to do that. But you are tired of hearing me talk. So shout out to everybody in the chat, and we're going to kick off the party because that's what we need to start with. Let's hit that party. Let's get this party started right. And let's go. I knew I had it in me, did you? Get it back! Talk to him. Get it, Heidi. Oh, look at my man, Low. Look at you, Low. I see you. Oh.
Attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Nigga like a double rhyme double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind, day and night all the time. 714, live divine. Maniac, radiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James.
Yeah. I love that, man. I absolutely love that. As a reminder, remember that the Friday Home Gym Dance Party is sponsored by Freedom Fitness Equipment. My guy Ashton was an immediate sponsor as soon as I told him what I needed because we're not able to do that dance party without being able to pay for the licensing of the music. I do not want my channel to disappear. So I'm so glad that Freedom Fitness Equipment agreed to sponsor that segment. And if you guys are in need of any sort of equipment for your home gym, hit up my guy Ashton, freedomfitnessequipment.com. He will hook you up. He just helped me get a power rack for my home gym. So I'm not telling you guys anything that I haven't tried. You can trust him. Go to freedomfitnessequipment.com and you guys will be able to check out all of his stuff there. And you also be able to reach out to him if you want to get a custom. Sometimes you want to get something custom, something hard to find or whatever. Just go right. I've got it going across the bottom there. Go to freedomfitnessequipment.com and just reach out to Ashton and say, hey, man, John sent me and I need your help. I need to turn my home gym into the best gym in town. And he will do that for you. Okay, so now we have got that. You know what time it is, right? It is time for our first guest. That's right, man himself, Conor Reilly, is going to be joining us right here on the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast. And there he is right there. Conor, what's going on, my man? Are you impressed
I'm
by
good, John.
your volume?
Oh, it's like watching the full sale before it kicked off. It's like he's getting in the zone to wake everyone up. This is fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, my man. Thank you so much for staying up with me, because it's actually nighttime for you guys. What time is it there now?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock over here. So
okay. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
I'll try to. It's quite reasonable, actually.
Well, look. So the reason I asked that is because when we were talking about you coming on, I said what time the show came on. We did the math for the time zone conversion, and you were like, "Well, that's the night before a competition. I'm definitely not staying up with you that night," and I do not blame you. So we went ahead and we rescheduled it for today. But that's cool because we get to talk about your competition as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, let's talk to the people in the chat. My man Carlos, who we just saw doing the running man, like the veteran he is, says good morning from Texas. He's actually in Central Time Zone, so he's actually up earlier than I anticipated. My guy Jonathan from No Fate 24/7 channel checking in. And let's see, he came to do two things and get pumped and hit the like button, and I'm already pumped. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Crank it up for me. All right, let's just jump into this. The first thing is your Instagram handle is Conor the Tyking Reilly. What? And Google had no way. Google couldn't help me. I Googled it, and they're like, what's that? So what does tyking mean? Tell me that. What is that?
Tyking came from one of my wife's friends, actually. So I'm going to try and convert everything to freedom units. That way I don't have too many of you guys spaz out by using the metric system. So I'm 5'7", and as anyone who's been around a strongman comp or even powerlifting competitions knows, a lot of those gentlemen tend to be 6'3", 6'6", and bigger. So me being quite small in stature, being around all these giants of men kind of gave her the idea of, oh, he looks like a tiny Viking if he had a beard. So then it just evolved into Tyking, so tiny Viking, essentially. Okay. So yeah.
So it's basically Conor the Tiny Viking Reilly, but just short. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? This is. I remember I put it on the question sheet I sent you. I said, look, this is a family show. All right, because we have people who are listening to this while they're dropping their kids off at school. But if you can tell me what it means, tell me. I was like, I don't know what sort of crazy Australian slang this may be. All right, I like that. It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that you just competed in powerlifting last week. You competed in is it the Australian Powerlifting League Queensland state titles? That's the state championship.
Yeah, so that's the one of the precursor competitions to either the untested or tested nationals. Okay. Coming up in for the untesteds in May, and then because I'm a tested athlete, it'll be in June. Okay. So you need to have a qualifying total from an APL affiliated competition. All right.
Well, you didn't do too bad, despite being sick. You let's see, you got a 595-pound squat. You hit a competition PR, which is always very nice. You got so that was a 374-pound bench press, and then you nailed 617 pounds in the deadlift. Which weight class and division do you? I know you're drug tested, but I mean what I mean is, do you guys do raw with wraps over there? Raw with sleeves? So, what do you compete in?
Yeah, so classic raw, which is your wrap division for your squat, and I compete in the 220 class, so the 100 kilo men's.
What do you walk around at?
I try and sit around about 98 kilos thereabouts. What would that be, like 210 pound ish? 210.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that actually goes into another thing I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you if you cut weight, because for strongman you kind of want to. I mean, you want to make weight as well, but you kind of need some of that weight to help you, do some of the events like the log press. So I was just wondering if you cut weight for it, but so it looks like you don't cut weight.
I have done previously. So when I competed in Townsville Strongest Man back in 21, 22. Yeah. So I won the under 90 kilo men's there. I think it's the 198 class for you guys. And for those ones, I had to do a water cut into the comp because I would be walking around about 94 kilos thereabouts. But now, like pushing these heavier weights with powerlifting and static monsters in particular, I'm finding the water cuts actually detrimental to my overall strength and how I feel in the day. So I try just to walk into it with an easy way in so I can keep eating food and not have to stress too much about that.
That's something that people don't think about because, weight cutting, Carlos, CBS True Consumer Reviews said, shout out to the shorties. He's 5 foot shorter than you. So basically what you're saying is Conor could dunk on you. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just saying if you play basketball, he would go up to the rim. He would slam it down. He would tell you to go to your room before he came back to the ground. That's just a random scenario that I just randomly came up with. I'm not saying it happened or even would happen. It's just something that I thought of.
Those early morning thoughts.
I mean, just random thoughts, man. Random thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Happy with that.
Yeah. But it seems to me that like what people don't think about with water cuts and cutting weight in general is people may have experience with it from something like wrestling or a combat sport. But what they forget is in a combat sport, your opponent's probably cutting weight also. So you're both dehydrated. You're both, a little bit tired because of it. In a competition, you're lifting numbers that you plan for, in theory, although I have seen people not plan. They just show up that day and see what happens. The iron does not care that you cut weight. If it's, if I go downstairs and it's 500 pounds, it's going to be 500 pounds whether I just cut weight or 500 pounds whether I walk in fully fueled. So that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of being you pick where it looks like that's what you did. You pick where you perform and feel the best, and then you just kind of try to get strong there. So you essentially walking around that way. Maybe you cut, a pound or two or something like that, but you're not really doing these drastic 20-pound cuts that people talk about.
No. Like the most I've ever done for a comp would be probably 12 pounds. It was 7 kilo water cut into a comp, and it wasn't too bad overall, but anything overhead was just miserable and I was almost ready to pass out. So that's kind of like earing on the side of caution after that one. So
and then too, man, it's also like you never know what could happen. You could be you could get like you were sick. I've gone into one of my last 5 powerlifting meets. I was actually taking antibiotics before I went into it. It ended up that was the only time I ever bombed out because I didn't adjust my bench opener down because I knew what I could do, but I didn't know what I could do when I was sick on the antibiotics because I was like, oh, this is great because I got sick right when my deload for the meet happened. So I wasn't lifting. So I had no idea what I could do. And I was like, all right, just don't touch it. My coach was like, don't touch any weights or whatever. But I didn't adjust my opener down. So I should have done that. We got a question in the chat from Jonathan. He says, I kind of know the answer to this, I think, but let's just get your opinion. With the recent rogue strongman, do you often wonder or are you concerned about the massive amounts of pharmaceuticals they have to take? I know you compete in drug testing, but what's your general opinion about that?
Yeah, world according to Conor type thing. Professional strongmen and the ones who do it well, I would imagine have a good regime where it is monitored through blood work, monitored through their nutrition. They're talking to doctors and that sort of thing to make sure they aren't doing anything that would essentially be detrimental to them. Because the number of strongmen I've seen, and women as well, because you can't deny they don't do drugs either, from not having a good regime is, I see biceps blow off and quads tear and that sort of thing because they haven't allowed for that adaptation prior to getting on the pharmacology or the pharmaceuticals. So at the pro level, I'd imagine they're doing it quite well and safely. Otherwise, because that's their livelihood now. Like a lot of them are making money to feed their families.
Yeah, that's your job. Yeah.
So, couldn't be taking these inherent risks unnecessarily.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? So I watched the movie. I think it's a great movie, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, that Chris Bell, Mark Bell's brother, made. And he brought up some points. It's like, if it's like performance enhancing, we always just think about steroids, but the reality is that if you like I think the example they used was those people who like compete for concert to be a concert musician, and they take drugs to help them with their focus. And it's like, well, how is that different? You taking something to help you with your focus, and this guy who gets paid to compete in an athletic event, and he's taking some sort of drug to help him with his athletic performance. It's the exact same thing, because you're taking drugs and the other musicians may not be, right? So I always try to take things with a grain of salt, but I also think, if you in strength sports especially, you could get hurt today, be out of the sport, and nobody remembers your name in 5 years.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to always think about that in the back of your mind too. Like, is this worth it to do this right now? And then, when I'm 80 years old and my health is wrecked because I did all this stuff to myself, will anybody care? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it in that context?
Yeah, and that's another thing too, like particularly the powerlifting side of things. Like, we have these really strong kids up and coming, 19 through 23, 25-year-old kids who are putting up these massive numbers, and you see it once on Instagram or a year's worth of lifting, and then they just disappear. It's like, whatever happened to this person who was a freakazoid hitting numbers at such a young age? Whereas you look at the likes of the Matt Wennings, the Dave Tates, the Chuck Vogapools, those guys, they still have a name, and that was back when Westside was in its infancy, essentially, but they're still like household names in the lifting community. Right. So they did something right, obviously.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know one person who's eternally grateful to steroids. His name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right. I'm like, it worked out. It worked out for him. So I mentioned your numbers, and those are really good numbers because we mentioned you've been sick. It was like 10 days of gastro. So that's rough. I hate, if I'm going to go do any sort of squats or deadlifts, I am completely not on board with the idea of having anything going on with my stomach because of, the bracing and stuff. I'm always terrified. Like, nah, man, I just don't feel like, today could be a bad day.
It could be a very, very smelly, messy day. That's for sure.
I don't want to be famous for the wrong reason,
But that sensation. It'd be a different sort of feature in the dance party if that was the case.
Oh yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. It's like but now you made it through it though. Now you're prepping for, let's see, it's UK for the UK Natural Strongman Australian qualifier, and that's next month. So April how long 27th. Do you normally wait between competitions before you start a new training cycle?
I try and ride peak to peak in my comp season. So I've worked out this year.
How long is your season? Let's start with that. When is your season start? When is it end?
6-7 months. So I normally go, my season starts from the very first competition I do for the year. So that being the APL one I've just done last weekend. And then I'll continue on until October and do static monsters. And normally by that stage, I'm well and truly done with lifting heavy things. The body is tired, the mind's done. Just from going like finishing one peak, reset, next peak, reset, next peak, and then again adding the different disciplines in now. But I try and work out about 8 weeks ish between competitions. So I find it's enough time to decompress the spine from having heavy things on my back, and then getting ready to elicit a maximal effort or maximal response from the body, or as close to what I can get. So, yeah.
All right. So we had a follow-up question on the. I'm assuming it's about training while sick, and it's from Santiago Alcantara. So let's see if we can put it up. He says maybe get more creatine in the muscles because you work out best to put in the muscles, and also drinking if you're trying to get out sick. So I assume he's saying like supplements you can take that will help you if you feel like you're getting sick, so that you can kind of continue to train. So do you have anything that you take, especially if you start feeling something coming on you and you have a competition coming up?
Yeah. For me personally, I find if I can just try and get that little bit of extra sleep, it just makes a world of difference to me. I'm not a big one for supplementation. Like I try and, with the help, I've got a fellow who does all my nutrition. He's really good. So I rely on him to tell me the right foods to eat, so that way I'm getting that right micronutrient profile, and then I try and affect the other factors that I have more control in, and that mainly being my sleep. And with having
But also, you're in the military. If it's like when I was in
yeah,
the Marine Corps, they drug test you randomly. So
yeah,
and the stuff that they may consider banned isn't necessarily what civilians would say, okay, oh yeah, this is fine. Just like high school athletes over here and college athletes, and even the National Football League, there are things that they can't take that we could
yeah,
take over the counter. It's over the counter stuff, and there's stuff
yeah,
that they can't take because it's considered to be maybe like it looks like you're trying to mask something. You're like, well, I'll take this, and it's masking something. Well, then the IOC. I remember Carl Lewis back in the 20th century when I was 9 years old. I think that's how old I was, but he got popped. He failed a drug test, and he had been taking it was cold medicine, and one of the ingredients in the cold medicine he didn't realize was on the banned list for the International Olympic Committee. So he got popped for it before Ben Johnson got popped. Let's see here. We got another question in the chat, and this from Jonathan again. Let me pop that up there. So he says, do you think that there are cheaters in the tested division that you are in? Do you even worry about that?
Yeah. I'd be ignorant to say that there wouldn't be anyone trying to cheat, because there's always that inherent competition with people in strength sports that they want to try and be as good as they can be. And if they can get away with it, then they will. Like I know I've seen names on qualifying competitions where they'll appear for the qualifier for the drug tested nationals, and they'll put up a really good total, and then they won't come to the drug tested nationals. So that kind of makes you think, are they actually on gear, or they decide to start cycling on type thing? So yeah, I'd definitely say that people trying to get away with it.
Is it like it is here in the States where they do a random test of 10%?
Yeah, so the last couple I've been to, it's normally if you win your weight division or 10%, depending on the makeup of the athletes that are there.
Okay. So this is going to sound funny because one of my goals, I never achieved it, but I'm not done competing yet. I just took a break because I'm doing something else right now. I'm trying to build Garage Gym Life. But one of my goals is to do well enough at a competition that they drug test me. Especially, now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, I want to go out there and do something that they're like, okay, you come here. We got this cup we need you to pee in. No, right now you got to pee in it. That's one of my goals. That's do you normally, let's go back to training. Do you normally try to alternate your training and your competitions? Like you compete in powerlifting, then strongman, then back to powerlifting? Because you did states, now you're training for the strongman competition. And then after that, you're going back to powerlifting because you've got the APL drug tested nationals in June. So do you try to alternate powerlifting and strongman competitions throughout the year?
Not intentional by any means. So I only got into powerlifting last year. So up until that point, I was not happy to be called a powerlifter. It's like, I do strongman, I lift heavy stones and awkward things because it's fun. So my best mate actually got me into powerlifting because there was no strongman competitions down south where we were living previously. And it just so happens that this year it's worked out that I do a powerlifting comp, a strongman comp, a powerlifting comp. And then if I did well enough in the April comp, I might get an invite to Ireland and go there.
Nice.
It's World Natural Strongman. And then after that it would be Static Monsters, depending on timelines with that one and how the body's feeling. So really got to feel that one out. Yeah.
Do you have a sponsor who helps you like with travel and stuff? Or is this
that'd be nice.
You're sponsored by your wife?
Yeah.
Sponsored by your wife. Like, baby, can I go?
Yeah, look, I'd be all ears for a sponsor that would help me travel around and do all this sort of stuff because, like, the military is not my forever job. It would be, I'd love to be a strength conditioning coach full time and go around competing, helping my guys compete and that sort of thing. Like, that's the end state. Have my own gym, run my own comps. So yeah, I'm just slowly building on that resume essentially, which is again part of the reason why I went and did powerlifting last year, because I was chatting to my best mate and I'm like, oh, which fed are you with? And he's like, oh, I'm with APL. They got 24-hour weigh-ins, this, that, and the other. And then from there, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of strong. I'll look at the national records and got on there in the under 100 men's classic raw, the wrap division. And I'm like, I can take all of these. So I then set up my training block last year.
He just casually is like, I looked at all the records and I realized that I was superior to everyone who had set records before me.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go and dominate. So, you know, I've got nothing to do today. I'll just go take all your records and everything that you hold dear.
Yeah, but like I would have done a lot of it at the qualifier last year back in March at I think it's Apex in Victoria. Okay. And I didn't know all the rules and ins and outs of you know how to take a national record and this and that. So I've done all the lifts, and then I went up to them after the fact and I'm like, oh, so how do I go about getting these national records? I just took today and it's like, oh, you're meant to tell us at the time you do your attempt so we can check your equipment. I'm like, okay. So I'll have another crack at it come nationals time. Turn up to nationals, and I've been laughing about this for a little while now. I took 4 national records and got me piss test. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like a lot of times people don't, especially when you're a novice lifter, they don't like. All right, if this is your first time competing, I always tell people if this is first time competing in a particular federation, there are a lot of rules, and you look at the rule book, you're like, that's a lot of stuff, right? So to me, it's best to have somebody who's your handler, who's done powerlifting before, even if they haven't done it in that. It's better if they've done it in that federation, but even if they haven't, if they're just reasonably familiar with how powerlifting competitions work. Same thing with strongman, because then what you do is you tell that person, hey, look, go ask the judges if something, when I go do something or whatever, like that's their job to worry about all that stuff. And you just focus on lifting, because things like that will come up where you won't even know, hey, I'm about to set a state record, or a national record, or world record. And one of the things that they need to do is, the reason you have to tell them ahead of time is, yes, they want to check you, but also they need to make sure that they have a national level judge, for example, on the platform, because essentially you would say that a world level judge is their most highly trained level of judge, right? So he's qualified to judge a world record attempt. And so if you're going to break somebody's world record, the person whose record got broken wants to know that you were judged basically under the same criteria and to the same level of rigor that they were when they set the record. So you always got to let them know ahead of time, because that way they can have the appropriate, at least one appropriate level judge on the platform watching to certify that your lift was indeed a world or national or whatever record attempt. And and then they can't do that after the fact, because I mean, a state judge might be very good, but they haven't been verified to be qualified to judge a national level attempt or a world record attempt. So it's like all these little nuances, man. Or like another one I see people do a lot is they'll get a red light, right? So in powerlifting, you have, for anyone who doesn't know, in powerlifting, you have 3 judges, and each judge has a light, or sometimes they'll have a flag, and or they'll have flags rather, and the light will either be red or it'll be white. Red light means there was not a good lift and it doesn't count, and white means it was good lift, it counts. Hence, you hear people say 3 white lights. Well, if you get 2, and since there's 3, it's basically 2-to-1 majority rules. So I see it all the time. Someone who's brand new to the platform, competing for the first time, they do their first attempt, and they'll get 2 white lights. So one referee saw something that didn't pass, right? And then they won't ask the referee what happened. So then they come back for their second or third attempt, and the problem got worse because they didn't realize it was a problem, and now maybe 2 judges see it. And now it's 2 red lights, and now your lift wasn't passed. Whereas if you ask on the first one, you say, hey, what did you see? Then they'll tell you, and you can try to correct it. So the next time, when the weights are heavier, you don't risk doing all that work for nothing, because that's what it is. You lift it and it gets, and it gets disqualified. You're like, oh, well, I just did all that for nothing. I got for that was tired, Yeah,
exactly right.
You posted yourself on Instagram the other day training the Viper log press and the strict log press. And I thought that was interesting, because you could do either one in competition, but go ahead, describe the difference between them for people who may not be familiar with it, and then talk about why it's important to you to train both Viper style and the strict press style.
Yeah, so I trained, I think it was Wednesday I did that. Coming off the back end of a competition, nervous system's pretty cooked, body's pretty cooked. So I tend to pick lifts that are what would be a rate limiter. So, minimal equipment applied. So no elbow sleeves, no wrist wraps, no bite guards. Because of me back with the military, I tend to always have a belt if I need to be in that thoracic extension position. So I was running the Viper as a rate limiter because I know I can't Viper as much as I can push press or split jerk. And same with the strict log, which I've found is actually a really good builder for that front rack position, and working out those little 1% deficiencies in your front rack and you're pressing with a log. Like I see it all the time with people where they'll come into the front rack and their elbows will just drop a fraction as they go into the press. And as soon as you lose that high elbow position from that drop of your torso, there's a chance that you will miss the lift.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a lot of that drilling of, positional and then having it as a difficult lift that I can't go heavy on it and, do more damage unnecessarily. So that's why I was doing those two in particular. And then there's the added advantage of the triple extension with the Viper as well. One of my events in April is a bag throw for distance, and I'm not inherently a great thrower. So helping train that triple extension through a Viper, I feel is going to have a bit of carryover as well.
Is it because you're tight?
Oh, no, it's just even growing up playing cricket and that sort of thing, I just was never a good biomechanical thrower. I can lift heavy things off the ground quickly, but I cannot throw them far. Gotcha. Yeah, it's going to take a bit of work to hopefully get a good result with that one.
Well, you got a gift to get. So you're a good presser because your arms are relatively shorter, but that means you can't throw well. It's okay. It's okay. You are the 2023 Static Monsters champion. How long have you been doing Static Monsters?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing Static Monsters? Because you were a Static Monsters champion in 2023.
Yeah, the world champion for the 105s. Just throwing it out there.
I just casually like, oh yeah, I'm the best ever. You have to go into space to find someone better than me.
The best guy that turned up on the day. Yeah. I was going now. I'm racking my brain. 2020 was the very first Static Monsters I competed in. And I think I hit a 115 kilo log and a 325 kilo deadlift. So like 700 and something pounds for the deadlift. And I think I can't quite do the quick math for the log press, but I don't think it'd be any more than 300. What would that be? 280-ish maybe for the log press? 115? 253 pounds there for the log press.
Was that your first strongman competition, or had you done strongman?
No, before? So 2019 was when I first started competing in strongman. So I did 2 local comps at a gym called Brisbane North Barbell. And then in Queensland. And then I also had a crack at the 2019 Queensland Strongest Man, which is where I learned that I am not that strong compared to some of these other boys. And I got absolutely handed. Came 6 out of 7.
Yikes.
So
hey, you beat somebody, right? That's okay. Did you stick your chest out and walk past him like, I'm at least your daddy.
But that one actually, losing so badly in that comp taught me so much about how I did not prep well at all. So since then I'm like, okay, what were my shortfalls? What can I fix? And it's going to be a rude shock to the system the day I don't come first, because I haven't lost a single comp since then. So nice. Yeah. Of winning Static Monsters in Australia, Townsville Strongest Man, that sort of thing. Then I think you reached out to me in 2021. You were asking about using some of my Static Monsters prep footage.
Yep. Because that was the first time I was going to be live streaming it, and I wanted to make a sizzle reel to promote the fact that we were going to be live streaming it. Because I mean, to this day, a lot of people don't realize that we live stream competitions as like another thing that Garage Room Life does. I was like, I gotta get the word out there. Yeah, that you were doing. I think it was a video of you doing the wagon wheels.
Yeah, I think I got wagon wheel and a bit of my log press or something in there.
Yeah.
That when my home gym was in its infancy, like I think I had that power rack that you see behind me. I had one of my logs. I had some cheap, nasty. I still have the plates, steel plates that I use for my yoke and that now, just because I'm happy to bang them up. And then I've kind of just continually added to the home gym itself over the years. So 2021, you reached out. It's meant to do that Static Monsters, but I ended up getting a call up with work and went to Malaysia for 5 months. So the weekend I was flying out from Malaysia was the weekend Static Monsters was on. So that was unfortunate that I missed that year. And then 2022 rolls around. I'm actually home this time for it. And put up a 500, like I've been running the numbers, and like a 500 kilo total should get me top 10 pretty easily in the 105s, which I achieved that with a 125 kilo log press and a 375 kilo deadlift. So adding a substantial amount to my overall total for the qualifier there.
Nice.
So
I have a question. Is it harder to do some of those lifts because you guys are upside down in Australia? What?
The toilet goes backwards as well, just in case you're wondering.
No, so. I'm just saying that it's everybody. Look, it's simple science. If you look at a globe, America is at the top. All right, we're near the top of the globe. It's North America, and then you guys are at the bottom. So you're obviously upside down. So how does that work?
Like, we're also ahead of you in time. So the fact we're not warning about you any of your natural disasters, it's just us just a little bit of payback to you.
Oh, that's hatred right there. That's
we
already know that. That's hatred.
Yeah.
But I always say you can never trust a man who has Christmas in the summertime.
Yeah. Well, at least Santa's wearing shorts down this way, so
he's not climbing any chimneys in Australia. I refuse. I don't believe that. One more thing about Carlos. Not. Carlos is like really John upside. Look at a map of the world. Not a map. Look at a globe. Okay. I'm not making this up. Just look at, and you can pick the globe. Pick a globe and look at where it is. Look at the top of the globe. Look at the bottom of the globe. And you see Australia is upside down. I know you're saying, well, why don't they fall off? Gravity, man. It's science. Gravity. They don't fall because it's gravity. But they're upside down. Jeez. That's why it takes so long to fly there, because it's turbulence, but it's from flipping. That's why they tell you to sit down, because they're flipping the plane upside down. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, come on now, please.
Yeah.
I actually want to ask you something else about Static Monsters. Because a lot of people don't realize that Chad Croft sold it. I don't know. I think last year was the first year that Static Monsters was under the new ownership. Do you still think that it's a good competition? Because you competed in last year. Do you still think that it's a good option for someone who is new to the sport of strongman and maybe wants to give it a try? Do you still think that it's like a good entry level kind of competition for somebody who wants to try strongman for the first time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Given it is two of the core lifts you see in strongman, like it's a modified deadlift, because they can't just have one version of a deadlift, and then the log press, and strongman's all about putting heavy things over your head as well. The only limiting factor is, your physical capabilities, and the fact that you can go into a Static Monsters comp, and even powerlifting is the same. You can go into any one of these comps, and realistically, the only person you should be competing against is yourself. And I'm a strong believer of that. Like, I go into every one of my comps. It's like, yeah, cool, it's nice to win, but if I can progress in some way, whether it be adding an extra 5 kilos to my total or hitting a new meet PR, that's a win for me. So it's so easily accessible, and I can see that as, if it does take off with, I think it's Jacobol strength and the, linking of the Magnus for Magnuson Classic, if it gets a bit more exposure and does really take off, I think it's a good avenue for people to come in and experience the sport to start off with, for sure.
And it's so the thing I really like about it is it's Static Monsters worldwide. So you're competing. It's the only strength competition that I know of where you're competing essentially on the same day against people from around the world. So when you said you're the world champion, you're literally the world champion in your weight class because you beat everybody else in that weight class who competed in the world at multiple locations. Whereas if you're the world champion in some other competition, it's basically you competed against the people who showed up that day, but it's not really as big a field. I think Static Monsters, it's the biggest worldwide competition. And when we live streamed it last year, we had people who had competed in Static Monsters in the UK, and they were watching my stream. One of them was my guy, Matt Welch, and he was watching our stream, and he was telling me what the numbers were from their competition because we were egging on one of the ladies who was competing where I was to see if she could break the record. Yeah, or not the record, but if she could beat the person, who had competed there. And it's just, to me, it's like a big community feel. So I really, really like that about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the awesome part. But yeah, with last year's Static Monsters, I wasn't going to do it originally. I was like, I've already qualified for the World Championships 2024 because I came first in London. I'll just miss this one. And if that's the only international comp that I can afford next year, then that's the one I'm going to do. So in that time, I ended up dieting down to about 93-ish kilos. And it just started coming off really quick. And I was saying
that's like 205, I think.
Yeah. I was saying to Greg, who's the fellow who does my nutrition, and I'm like, sorry to drop this on you, but I can get to under 90s and I want to compete now. He's like, oh, why didn't you tell me this 6 weeks ago? I'm like, I didn't have a plan to do it. But I think I weighed in on the day like 89.3 kilos. And it was one of the last competitions they entered on strength results, where I was sitting first in the under 90 or the 198 class. And then there's this one fella who was 300 grams lighter than me, with the exact same total. So he ended up taking top spot at the 11th hour type thing. So it's like, well, I guess I'm second as an under 90 now. That's good enough for me. So,
but it's still, again, it's in the world. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you've been competing for a while. What's your best advice for getting, if somebody has a sticking point, what's your best advice for getting past a sticking point, no matter what the lift is?
Ooh, that's a can of
worms.
Let
me put it a different way. Do you think are you a big believer in doing assistance work to help with sticking points, or do you believe that maybe you should just go back and focus on that lift and dial technique? Like, what's your go-to? Like, okay, let's try this first.
My thing. So I'm a big advocate for conjugate. I love variation, avoiding that law of accommodation. So you should always be able to find something to progress in of a similar lift. So realistically, you shouldn't be stagnating. And if you're just going into the gym 365 days a year and squat, bench, dead, and you're doing the single plane of motion with not a great deal of variation, of course, you're going to find sticking points where you're not going to develop. So that's where the conjugate system comes in, where it's like you're rotating things depending on how advanced the lifter is and the training age of the lifter. Like someone like myself, I'll rotate exercises every week if I need to. But I tend to try and stick with the same variation 3 weeks, but just change like the accommodating resistance, like adding chains or bands or the degree of the incline to help those sticking points. And then the other aspect of it is the human nature side, is with growth comes being uncomfortable. And a lot of people, for the most part, and you would have seen it plenty in the military and in life, like you start getting uncomfortable, the tipping point where you're going to get that progress, you back off.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is just that little bit more of a push, that little bit more discomfort will help them progress. So that's my take on it anyway.
Shout out to U4C Fitness. I saw they put a comment that says sleep makes all the difference, and that applies actually to a lot of the things that we've been talking about, because there's a famous quote that said fatigue makes cowards of us all. You're more likely to give up if you're tired, and it's going to affect your immune system, and it's going to affect your performance in a competition. It's just that's just one of those things. It's like, I remember Stan Efferding said that he will tell people to skip cardio if they need to get some sleep, because he think, you may be doing cardio and you're burning calories, but you're actually raising your cortisol levels, which is going to end up making you put on body fat. So it's kind of like you're kind of defeating yourself. So shout out to U4C for that, U4C Fitness. And they actually have I want to mention, they have a really cool product that I just saw on Instagram. It's a way to do calf raises on a power rack. So you guys keep an eye out for that. I believe they're going to have it at Home Gym Con. So anyone who's going to Home Gym Con be able to see it. But you guys, you go ahead and check them out on Instagram. It's U4C, the letter U, the number 4C Fitness. Check them out on Instagram. Give them a follow. And you guys will be able to see that video. It's really intriguing product. Let's see here. Last question I got for you, Conor, is have you thought about competing in other strength sports like Highland Games or grip sport? I guess technically CrossFit is a strength sport as well. It's like that hybrid indoor. Well, I don't mean it in a disparaging way. I'm saying, like, to me, CrossFit is kind of like a triathlon, but with weights. you know? So it's not like a I didn't mean it that way. I mean, but it's technically that. So have you thought about competing in anything like that?
No, not really. I kind of want to get good at this whole powerlifting strongman thing still. Like, I consider myself above average at best. So there's still a lot of room to grow. So yeah, if I do get to a point where I'm like, I'm done with this, then I might try my hand at maybe grip sports, because it's nowhere near as cruel on the body as, carrying around several 100 pounds of yoke or Husserl stones and that sort of thing. So nice. Maybe later on down the track when the body starts hating me a bit more.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you staying up late with me. What time is it there now?
It is 9:45. So
okay, 9:45 at night. I appreciate you staying up, and especially since you're still kind of recovering from your illness there. So I really do appreciate it, man. If you have it, what do you want? Because you're going to be competing again. Are there any live streams like people can we can watch you guys? Because I actually. Quiet as kept, because of how my schedule goes, I actually end up watching a fair amount of powerlifting competitions from Australia, because it'll just happen to be on if I'm doing something, and it'll just be on live, later on in the evening when I'm doing paperwork here for Garage and Life or just whatever, right? So I actually end up seeing a fair amount of stuff. So are any of your competitions going to be live streamed? And, how can if people just want to just follow your training in general, how can they keep up with you?
So my Instagram is purely about me lifting. So I think, you've got it down there. My Instagram handle, Conor _Reilly. So if you want to follow me there, I'm always happy for a chat if you reach out, that sort of thing. In regards to watching competitions, if you get on the APL Instagram page, they are really good at announcing which competitions they're live streamed as well. With the strongman comp in April, I'm not sure if there's going to be a live stream for any of that, but the nationals last year for the APL were definitely live streamed. So end up dropping the kids off with the parents when I competed last year, so they would end up watching it on TV. The kids are pretty excited. They're like,
will you have that? What I'm getting at is, are you going to have that if we follow you on Instagram? I follow you obviously on Instagram, but if we follow you, you'll have those links and all that stuff available, so we can get it. So we can see.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I try and do as much promotion as I can for the comps I compete in. Because I've got people, like friends and family everywhere, that sometimes are like, I didn't know you were in town. It would have been nice to turn up. It's like, well, if you just jump on the socials every now and then, I generally put something up as to where I am. So,
Okay. All right. Well, my man, I appreciate you once again, being here with us, like I said. And let me see. We got one more thing. Okay, yeah, and so Carlos says we appreciate your time, Conor, and I definitely do. So yeah, man, keep on training hard, keeping us motivated there, and if you ever do run into Carlos, make sure that you dunk on him, because we are exactly 1 inch taller. So show your dominance, man. Come on, be proud of yourself. Come on,
yeah.
All right, have a good night.
I'll keep that in mind. That's for sure. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on, and you ever want to have another chat again, just let me know. I'll happily stay up.
Man. I gotta have you come back, man. Ask you some more training questions next time. And shout out to Mrs. Reilly, who's sitting right there, keeping you on point with the kilo conversions. So Nice job.
The kilo conversions and the fist ready to smack me as a profanity is about to come out.
You're like, hey, don't do that. Don't do
Yeah.
that.
Well, you know the military types. It's usually
That's
every
it.
second word. So having to think about things carefully this time's like, oh, hang on a minute. This needs to be PG over here.
Oh God. Okay, so I'll tell you a quick story. So we had a gunnery sergeant. I remember we were getting ready to deploy to Iraq back in 04, and our gunnery sergeant, that's an E7. He that dude cussed all the time. I mean, like every other word, right? And so we were in formation, and he's trying to tell us that some missionaries have brought some Bibles for us, right? And so he was like, anybody who wants to, yeah, you can imagine how that went.
Yeah.
So he's still cussing. He didn't stop cussing, right? He just went ahead and just cussed his way through the entire thing. But the point of it was, I better not see any of these effing Bibles laying around here. You better, hey, they came out here. Don't you embarrass me. There's all these Bibles there. I better not see a single Bible missing. Go get your Bibles if you want it. God knows, y'all need to pray for me. I'm probably, pray I don't murder one of y'all for how you, what it's just on and on and on. But he's talking about, he was encouraging us to get the Bibles. I thought that was hilarious. I think it's funny.
Whilst we're trading stories, I ended up working with a cavalry sergeant, so an E6 over here. They called him Aggro.
Okay.
And when he was having a good day, because the F-bomb was dropped every third word, and then when he was ticked off, he would somehow string sentences together with just the F word. It's like, this is a talent I am thoroughly impressed with.
Yeah, then you're like impressed. You're like, oh, yeah, wow, that's actually not.
So that was our gauge. The cyclic rate of F-bombs is like, hey, is he having a good day or is he pissed off?
I know, right? All right, my man. I'll let you go so you can get back to spending time with your family. I appreciate you once again. And everybody go follow at Conor_the_Tyking Reilly and keep an eye on the tiny Viking as he goes out there and dominates. All right. Let's see here. And I'll talk to you later, man. Later. Okay. So that was my dude, Conor the Tyking Reilly. And once again, you guys make sure that you go ahead and follow him on Instagram. Shout out to everyone who is here in the chat. U4C Fitness. Okay, so you're digging the equipment at Exponent Edge. Yeah, we're going to be having them. We'll be having Jay come up at 9, and he'll be joining us for that. So you guys make sure that you stay. He'll be here at 9 a.m. Jay Benoit from Exponent Edge will be joining us. So you guys make sure that you stick around for that. I know some of you guys are going to be, starting work and all that, and so you won't be in the chat. But if you have questions, if you have questions for any of the guests I have coming up, I got Greg from G Code Nutrition coming up in about an hour and a half, and I have Jay from Exponent Edge coming up in about 2.5 hours, it looks like, or at 9 a.m. So put your questions in the chat now, and I'll make sure that I ask them, so that even if you're not able to be in the chat when they come on, I can still get your question asked, and you guys just hang out with me and continue listening, and we'll get your question answered. All right. But it is now 6:53. You are watching the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast. We'll be right back. All right. It is now 6:53 in the morning, and I am going to go ahead and do it. I normally wait till 7, but I know some of you Central Time Zone people are here anyway. So let's go ahead. Prepare ourselves. Shout out to the Central Time Zone. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. This is the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast, and I'm going to be riding with you all the way throughout your morning routine. I am John Greaves III. I'm founder of Garage Gym Life. This is a Garage Gym Life production. The Way Too Early for a Friday podcast is the only fitness morning show in existence, as far as I know. And we talk about fitness. We talk about things related to home gym culture. We got a lot of the coolest guests. So if you would like what you see, please go ahead and not only hit that subscribe button for me. Don't just hit that like button for me, but go ahead and share the video with other people. Share the video with other people who you think might enjoy this. You guys have this is I believe this is our 4th, maybe 5th episode so far, and in every episode we have more people who are joining the party, jumping in and checking out what we have. So once again, I want you guys to let's get this momentum going, because I want to give you guys content that will not only entertain you, but also educate you and give you something cool to listen to as you go about your morning routine. You're getting your morning workout in. Carlos tagged me in a picture of himself working out while he was listening to the show last Friday. I really appreciate that. So you guys go ahead and do more of that. Tag Garage Gym Life if you post a video of yourself dancing to the song of the week, or if you're just working out and you want to show me, while the show is on, you would tag me in a picture of that. That's cool. And also, if you have a home workout video, make sure that you tag at Garage Gym Life on Instagram as well, because I want this to be an interactive thing. It's not like normal radio shows or normal shows on the radio where it's just me broadcasting to you. No, or a normal podcast where it's just me broadcasting to you. I want to get feedback from you guys, because the whole point of a live is to be able to interact with my community. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm super fired up about this medium. Let's see what you say in the chat. I know somebody got something smart to say, and there he is, Carlos, talking about 5 more minutes, Mom. Nope, definitely not. Get up right now. Get up, and it is time for you to get up and get cracking, make things happen. All right, because we got stuff to do. You got a big day today. You got a big day. Come on now, first day of the weekend. Let's get started. All right, we are going to be moving right into our next segment. This is a new segment, and I'm pretty excited about it. So let's go ahead and let's play the news. So news for you to listen to. All right, first news item is Fringe Sport is having a sale. And this is something I've not seen done before. But Fringe Sport is having an online garage sale. So we're used to the boneyard sales that companies sometimes do, but Fringe Sport is having an online garage sale, and they said it's lightly used equipment that they're selling, and they're going to be releasing the full product list today. So that popped up on my feed yesterday. So they're going to be releasing their full product list, everything that's going to be available. So you guys need to check out Fringe Sport on Instagram, and they'll be letting you know. And then you also want to check out fringesport.com. So I've got the link for that in the description for this video, both on Facebook and on Instagram, and it's also in the description on Twitter. So if you check it out, then you'll be able to go to fringesport.com, and you can just get on their email list. I'm assuming it's not too late to get on the email list to find out about it. But the point is, this is an online garage sale. What I don't know, because it says gently used, I'm not exactly sure if that means that these items are things that customers have returned that are still in good shape. Maybe somebody just didn't like the color or whatever, or if it's something that was used as a demo model in their facility, because Fringe Sport has a gym that's attached to their store in Austin, Texas. I've actually been there, and I'll link that video showing my tour of Fringe Sport. I'll put the link in the description of this video for you guys to check it out. But so obviously if you're demoing stuff there, some of that stuff might end up getting, it's used, it's no longer new because people have used it. So I don't know if that's what they're selling or if it's stuff that customers have returned. All I know is it's an online garage sale. So it's not a boneyard sale, because a boneyard sale typically is stuff that's like a factory second. So maybe there's some sort of blemish on it, something that didn't quite meet the standard. It usually is like a cosmetic thing. And so they're like, well, we'll sell it at a discount. This garage sale seems to me that it's something that these will be things that were available for sale, and then for some reason the other Fringe Sport has them. So you guys make sure, like I said, check out Fringe Sport on Instagram, and that way you guys will know about this online garage sale when it comes up. Now, here's the second thing. I showed this to my wife, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to talk about this, because I'm not really sure about this particular piece of information here. you guys tell me if you're into this, okay? Would you wear refurbished shoes, refurbished barefoot shoes? So let's walk with me, all right? So it's great. We're saving the planet, right? But as you guys can see there, Revival Barefoot, I got this from Instagram too. Revival Barefoot is they have refurbished footwear that's ready to be re-loved. So the question I have is, most people who wear barefoot shoes without socks. So my question is, what's your definition of a refurbished shoe? Right? What's your definition of a refurbished shoe? So my wife wanted to know, she's like, well, does that mean that they took your old shoes, your old funky shoes, and they grind them up and they make a whole new shoe, like a recycled tire? Or like when they take tires and they recycle the tire and they turn it into, like, I don't know, asphalt or something? Or are these shoes that they just put a new sole on or something like that? Because once again, people wear barefoot shoes without socks. And I'm just going to need a little bit more information about that before I say I want a used barefoot shoe. Okay? I'm not trying to be a snob. I'm just saying that's something that I'm going to need more information about in order for me to fully be on board with any sort of refurbished shoe activity. Okay? So you guys let me know in the chat. Are you down to wear a previously enjoyed shoe? Let's just call it that. Some triathlete was wearing their zero shoes, running. They used it all for 6 months straight. Been about 6,000 miles of running, of barefoot, stank foot running in this shoe. And then they're like, well, I want to save the planet. So I'm going to turn it back into not zero, Vivo shoes. I'm going to turn it back into Vivo. And then they're going to put a new sole on it and sell it. So yeah, I just don't know, man. Carlos said my feet are too sensitive. I'd be more skeptical about wearing used shoes. I'm just saying, like I said, I can understand it a little bit if it's a normal shoe because you got socks on. And I understand socks, they're not a force field, but come on, man. A shoe that's just barefoot? Nah, I can't. I'm not gonna be able to do it. But you guys let me know what you think. Then also, there's another thing. Now we're gonna move into our next segment, and that's gonna be fairly entertaining for you guys because this is me talking about how I got hurt. So, okay, Andrew Towers says he feels personally attacked. Let's stay on this topic for a little bit. So, Andrew, tell me why you feel personally attacked. Is it because you wear your barefoot shoes and then... Oh, no, I love barefoot shoes, but I like brand new barefoot shoes. I don't want somebody else's foot... I don't know what to call it. Your foot attributes. I don't want somebody else's foot accessories, right? Attaching to my foot. I like my foot. My foot accessories I can deal with. If I don't have it, but if I happen to have foot fungus or something like that, I can deal with that because it's mine. Okay, that's homegrown. I don't want to share your foot fungus with you. You know what I mean? And Andrew, you were in the military, so jungle rot is a thing. I'm not doing that, man. I'm not doing. Say you've gone bowling for. Yes, I was wearing socks, Andrew. I feel like you're missing the point on purpose. People wear barefoot shoes without socks. I've gone bowling, but I was wearing socks. I'm just not doing it. I've also been roller skating. Again, I was wearing socks. That's like sharing somebody's towel, washcloth. I wouldn't share a washcloth either. Warrior Transformation said, do they use a sanitizing wipe then resell? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I need more. Look, I'm going to show you the same thing I saw. Once again, I'm going to tell you, it's refurbished footwear, and that the refurbished part makes me nervous. It's Revival by Vivo Barefoot. Okay? And you can go on vivobarefoot.com and you can check out their previously enjoyed shoe collection. And I can't do it, man. I wouldn't even borrow somebody's flip-flop. Okay. I ain't done it. The one that's known as Tom says not gonna happen. That's a no-go. That's right. Say no go. I'm saying I'm not doing it. Let's see where else. Yeah, athlete's foot is a thing. I'm just telling y'all. It's just flat out. I'm sorry. I'm just not able to do it. But hey, to each his own. All right, let's go into the next segment, the next two segments, which lead into each other. So the first segment, or the first topic, is I'm going to talk about how I got hurt. Okay. So some of you guys were watching, or you may not have seen it actually, but in general, I got hurt last Sunday. It was technically Sunday morning because my wife and I went out to eat with some people from our church, and then we got home and it was some good food. It was Italian food. It was really good, but I just felt stuffed. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna get on the treadmill, and I'm gonna walk for about an hour because I try to get an hour of walking every day. I usually get more than that, but an hour of walking every day, right? As part of me losing body fat. So I go downstairs, I walk on the treadmill. Well, my lower back was a little tight because the day before I had been deadlifting and I got a little bit out of position. I still got the weight, but my back was a little tight because of it, because my technique wasn't the best. So I said, all right, my back is tight. I'm not going to be able to sleep. So let me go ahead and I'm going to do some inversion. I finally got a power rack that's tall enough again. So when I do inversion, my head's not going to be on the ground. So yeah, let's put these, I put on my Teeter gravity boots, which are a fantastic option if you don't have room for a Teeter hang up table. So I got my gravity boots and I put them on and I hang on, I hang from the, I tell you what, I'll let you guys just see what happened. Let me, I'll pull it up right now. I wasn't even going to actually do this, but let's see if I can find this thing here. Let's see. Yeah, no, this is this sort of riveting television that you guys, that's what you're looking for here. If I can't find it, we just won't do it. But basically, it was pretty rough. Yeah, okay, I can't find it. Well, it's on YouTube. I'll link to it. Anyway, so I'm hanging up there and hanging upside down, and I come back up, and it never registered to me that this power rack is about 4 inches, is 3 inches taller than my tallest previous power rack. All right. That's important because every other time that I've done it, when I go back to right side up, my feet are touching the floor as soon as so when I'm upside down, my hands are on the ground. And then when I go back right side up, my feet are already on the ground. So when I let go, I'm on the ground. In this situation, my feet were swinging. I'm swinging, right? And so I'm hanging up there, and because of the angle, I can't see how far away the ground is. So there's probably like a maybe a 3-inch drop, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're the one dropping, that's a long way to go, right? So I let go of the bar, and the worst part is I let go of the bar as I was swinging backward. So the distance to travel is even worse, and I'm at an angle. So I land at an angle, and my left leg just buckled under me completely because I just been hanging upside down. So everything's relaxed. I've got joint space between my joints again. My back felt amazing. I was like, oh, this is great. Let me get down. I go upstairs, take a shower, go to bed. I swing, let go, and man, my leg buckled, and I'm just like, uh-oh. So I tuck my chin as I'm going down. I hit the power rack, and my chin is tucked because also I haven't been able to hang up my 100-pound plates. I haven't been able to store those yet. So they're just kind of on the ground inside the power rack to get them out of the way. So I was like, my 100-pound plates are there. I store my bench inside the power rack, standing in an upright position. So my one shoulder hit the bench. My right elbow hit the side of the power rack. My lower back hit the 100-pound plate. And I'm just laying there. Now, when I was, in my 20s, if that had happened, I'd have just jumped right up like, I'm good, whatever, right? I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm in my 50s. So when you fall in your 50s, what you do is you then immediately you do an assessment. So I'm laying there like, okay, is everything working? Am I hurt? Right? And first of all, am I injured? Because being hurt and being injured are two different things. So am I hurt? Okay. Am I injured? All right. Everything, it's uncomfortable, but I should be good. All right. So I sit up and I stop and I reassess again. Am I injured? Am I hurt? No? Okay. I stand back up and then I stand all the way up. Cool. I post that on Instagram. I put that on YouTube. Now I put it on YouTube for two different reasons. Number one, it was an algorithm thing because there are people who I know who would care about me getting hurt and they would immediately reach out as soon as they saw the injury, right? So what I wanted to, so a lot of these people subscribe to my YouTube channel. So what I was curious about, I've always been curious about is if you have your notifications turned on, how long does it take for you to find out that I've posted a video? Because sometimes I post a video and I don't get feedback from you guys for like 3 or 4 days. And so I was like, well, maybe they're just not on YouTube or just whatever, right? But I knew for something like this, everybody who saw it would immediately reach out. And I was correct, man. A lot of these a lot of people who saw the video were like, people are still reaching out to me because they've just now seen the video. So that was one reason. The other reason is because I've always wanted to be transparent and I don't want it to be one of those things where you only post your wins. And the reason why I fell, honestly, was because I made some critical errors. So number one, I had the tools here to have been able to get down safely. And in fact, I did it last night. So here, I'll show you guys how I did it. How I did it when I did it correctly. Let's pull. Now this one I do know how to, I will be able to find it. All right. So pull it up here. Last Sunday, I had a pretty bad fall on my. Yeah, so so I just did the fall. Those of you who are just listening, just watch this on replay. It'll be on there. So you guys can see I come down, I let go, and then I fell, right? So here's what I should have done. So I climb up there, grab the pull-up bar like I normally do, go up, hook your feet on to the bar, hook the gravity boots onto the bar. Then you hang and you relax. This is the good part. Feels amazing, I'm telling you. All right, all that's great. What I should have done is have my Hatfield handles on the rack. So I reach up and grab the pull-up bar with one hand and the Hatfield handle with the other, then put my feet down on the side of the power rack, the sides of the power rack, and then just step down. All right. And because I didn't do that, instead I'll play it again. Because I didn't do that, I just dropped. So let's go right here. So yeah. See how much room there is under my feet? If you're watching, if you're just listening, just like I said, just catch it on replay. But there's a bunch of room below my feet, and then I swing backwards and I drop, and my knee just buckles under me. And of course, all of the the YouTube medical personnel, the Google medical personnel, the people who Google your symptoms, they all chimed in with, "Oh no, you got hurt because you passed out." And I'm like, "Well, I was awake when it happened." Look, I used to fight, so I know what it feels like when you get dropped and you're out completely. There's a gap in your memory. I know what that feels like. That was not this. I was awake the entire time. Which was actually bad, because like I'm going down and I know what's behind me. So as I'm falling, I'm like, oh, I hope I don't hit my head on the bench. I hope the bench doesn't fall on me when I hit it, and there's nothing I can do to catch myself. So it was, it sucked being awake for the entire thing. But yeah, everybody's, oh, you passed out. People were telling me, about blood pressure and all these other things. I'm not saying that that's not valid. I'm not saying that that's not true. What I'm saying is that those things didn't necessarily apply in this situation, because what it was, my body was just relaxed. And then I went from relaxed to suddenly asking my body to accept all of my body weight in a way that jarred it. and also at a very bad angle. So yeah, all that could have all been avoided if I just taken the time to take the Hatfield handles, put them on the rack, grab the rack, and come down like a sensible person. But when I did it last night, you notice I did it the right way, because that's right. Yeah. All I just got to do is happen one time, and I don't want it to ever happen again, because my knee was swollen up. It was like twice the size. My left knee was like twice the size of my right knee. And I wasn't able to go to church that later on that day. This happened at a little after midnight on Sunday morning. So I wasn't able to go to church. I was just alternating, the ice packs or whatever, which leads to another story. Okay. My wife, I'm there with the ice pack on, right? I'm sorry. So my wife goes and gets me my freeze sleeve. I've got two different sets of freeze sleeves that I keep in the freezer. And she went and got me one, and she puts it on my knee, right? And that thing is, given the name freeze sleeve, it's really cold. I mean, it's literally like putting ice on your skin. So I'm like, man, this is miserable, right? And she says to me, y'all tell me if y'all heard of this. She says, just put a heat pad on the other knee. So I said, what? Yes. She said, because my left knee was cold, she said I should put a heat pad on my right knee. Y'all follow me? She said that would fix the problem. Has anybody ever heard of this? Has anybody? Hang on a second. I gotta open this window. It's hot in here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Has anybody ever heard of that? One leg is cold or one arm is cold, so you put a heat pad on, so you put heat on the other one. I've never heard of that in my life. The worst part is it actually worked. So she puts it on me and then puts the heat pad on me. She says, give it a second. The heat pad warms up. And just like that, the cold wasn't as bad anymore. So now I'm looking at like, what have you just done to me? I'm already hurt. What you just do to me, right? I never heard no junk like that in my life. But thank you. I was like, what she says. And she says the junk like she says science. Everybody knows this. Like, well, apparently I'm not in there. Everybody. Apparently I wasn't in school that day, because I've never heard of that in my entire life. So about mathematically, Warrior Transformation says mathematically. I'm telling you, it was freaky because it worked. I was like, hey. Now I'm looking at so I'm just sitting there looking at both knees like suspiciously, like what's going on here, right? She said it's like if your left arm is hurting and you pinch your right arm, it'll make the pain from your left arm go away. I don't know about all that. I think what'll happen is both your arms now. If my left arm hurts and you pinch my right arm, now both arms hurt. That's what I think. That's what I think happens, okay? But I never heard of that before, and it ended up working. So shout out to my wife. But the reason why I was using the freeze sleeves is part of the next topic, okay? So we got another topic, and I'm going to go into that topic right now. Carlos, prepare yourself, because we are about, in fact, everybody prepare yourself, because we are about to enter the recliner of rage. It's the recliner of rage, recliner of rage, because I'm not happy. That's right. I'm in the recliner of rage. Today's recliner of rage segment is brought to you by the Hyper Ice X knee. The Hyper Ice X knee thing looks like a gas mask, and it is supposed to be, first of all, I love this thing, okay? And that's why I'm so mad, because I say that the people who are the closest to you hurt you the most. Okay, I'm such a huge fan of the Hyper Ice knee, because what this is, it's a hot cold therapy contrast knee sleeve. It's not a knee brace, it's more like a knee sleeve, right? So the way it works is you hook it up with Bluetooth to your phone, all right? And it will give you alternating. It's got different programs, so you can do cold therapy, you can do heat therapy, or you can do what I was going to do, which is hot cold therapy. So remember, my knees hurt. And I looked, I didn't run. I kind of hobbled because I was like, hey, Hyperice X knee, this is your time to shine. This is the moment for which you were created. This is your purpose. This is your moment, right? I hear like the Ric Flair theme song coming. I put it on. It's like, bum, bum, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, yeah, this is that moment. That moment. And it didn't work. I said, good God. I'm like, man, I was like, I could have sworn I put it on the charger because I use it all the time. I was like, I could have sworn I put it on charger. So I go, I'm mad. Remember now, I can barely walk because my knee is swollen. So I try to plug it in. The little light won't even come on. The light won't even come on to show that it's charging. So now I'm mad. I was irritated before. Now I'm mad. Why is it not even working? This is when I needed you. You abandoned me, Gus. You abandoned me. You're embarrassing me. What's going on here, right? So I take this thing and I'm like, I look at it. I talk to it. I beg it. I plead it. I plead with it. I try again. Because, you know, that's obviously what you do, right? I unplug it and plug it back in. That's the extent of what I was doing. Then to add insult to injury, when you're charging it, the little charger box will light up to let you know that it's plugged in. So everything's working all the way up until we get to the connection point with the Hyperice X, because that's not working. And this is my moment of need. My knee is in pain. It's swollen. I need my hot cold contrast therapy, and I need it right now. But it's not working. So I'm angry. I'm very angry. 2 days later, so that's why I went and that's why I asked my wife to give me the freeze sleeve. And to be honest with you, that taught me a lesson, because I was going to get rid of the freeze sleeve because, you know, you got the new. I said, man, I got that new. I don't need these freeze sleeves anymore. We can get rid of these and make room in the freezer. I don't need to keep these anymore. I was going to get rid of them, right? I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad. Freeze sleeve, shout out to you. You came through in my hour of need. So I still had it. But I'm getting ready to send the Hyperice back. I'm like, I'm mad. This thing costs over $300, and I need another one, or I need you to tell me something. I don't care what you tell me, but you need to tell me something. Okay? You know, like you get like indignant. You need to tell me something, and it better be something I want to hear. All right. So about 2 days later, I decided to read the instruction manual. All right. Now I know what you're thinking. You think I did something wrong. Well, you're wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. But I read the instruction manual. I went to the troubleshooting part. And it told me that the reason why my knee sleeve, my Hyperice knee sleeve wasn't working was because, I cannot believe this, the firmware had crashed. And so I had to do a factory reset. Yes. We are now in an era where your knee brace can have a firmware crash, and you got to do a factory reset on your knee brace, just like you do on your phone. And it was the same process that you use if you want to do like you want to do a hard reset on your phone. You got to press the little button for however many seconds, and then it'll go back to factory settings. That's what I had to do with Hyperice. And when I did it, I plugged it in. Boom, the light came on, showed it was charging, and I've been using it ever since. So I got hurt Sunday at midnight. I was trying to mess with this thing at like 9 o'clock in the morning Sunday, and I wasn't able to get it working until Tuesday. Yeah, I got it working on Tuesday. So I went 2 days not being able to use the thing for the purpose for which it was created, which would have, in my hour of need when I needed hot cold therapy. And it's all because there was a firmware update. And I completely blame this situation on the times we are in. Because when I was growing up, first of all, think about the things that have changed since we were growing up. If you're in your late 40s, if you're in your 40s or your 50s or older, think about how the world has changed. Can you imagine when you were, let's say, 8 years old? Can you imagine your dad walking around the house? You're like, what are you looking for, Dad? I can't find my phone. We never lost our phone because the phone was plugged into the house. As long as you knew where your house was, you knew where the phone was because it's plugged into the house. You might lose your car keys, but you're not going to lose your phone. So then they started unplugging the phone because now the phone is wireless. It'll go everywhere with you. Okay, but now you can lose your phone. Now they plug in the car. So the battery on your car can run down. This is the thing about that. We live in a time when somebody's car battery can run down. I mean, now we had dead batteries on cars before, but I'm talking about not the whole car. You got to plug. Can you imagine going to your dad, your dad coming home from work and saying, "Hey, if you after you finish your homework, make sure you go outside and plug my car in for me." I mean, seriously, make sure you go outside, plug my car back in for me. That doesn't even make any sense. So we're now in an era where your knee braces got to be plugged in. And actually, I should have seen this coming because we got a couch out in the living room that we plug in, and it's you plug the couch in, so then it'll recline and come. It's got a motor, so it'll recline and sit up straight if you press a button. And you can also charge your phone by plugging it into the couch. So sometimes you sit on the couch. I remember my buddy came over and he sat on the couch and he's like, "Hey, how do you adjust this?" I said, "Just press the button." And he's like, "What?" He said, "What? There's nothing." I said, "Oh, they must have forgot the kids must have unplugged the couch." And he just looked at me like, "You got to plug your couch in?" I was like, "Yeah, you got to plug the couch in my house for it to work." So these are the times in which we live, man. We had to plug got to plug my you got to plug in your couch for it to work. Let's see. Carlos. Yeah, Carlos, you know what I'm talking about. The phone is on the dining room wall. Somebody comes over to your house, they say, "Hey, can I use the phone?" First of all, people don't even ask that anymore because they bring their phone with them. But people come over your house and say, "Hey, can I use your phone?" "Yeah, man, let me show you where it is." And you take them straight to the phone because it's plugged into the wall right there. Even when we had cordless phones, we still put it back on the handset because we didn't want the battery to die. So the phone was always in the right place. Nowadays, you can lose your phone. You got to plug your car and your couch in, and you got to make sure that your knee brace didn't get the firmware rebooted, or else it won't work. That's what's going on in life, man. And that was the recliner of rage. Recliner of rage. I'm not happy. All right, so you guys let me know what you think of that segment. What do you think about the recliner of rage segment? Go ahead, drop a comment in there. Let me know. Is this a keeper or not? Should I keep the recliner of rage? That segment is all about basically me complaining about whatever sort of home gym related items are not working the way they should. So yeah, I'm telling you, maybe I should get t-shirts made that say recliner of rage. We can make this thing big. I'm telling you, because everybody has to get, first of all, everybody's got their chair in the house. And my chair, by the way, is not, you don't plug my chair in. My chair is old school. You sit in it, you pull the little handle, pop your feet up. All right. That's yeah. And I don't want you sitting in my chair. I mean, I don't mind my wife sitting in it, but when it's time for me to go sit in there, number one, guests don't come over and sit in my chair. You don't sit in the man's chair unless he specifically says sit in the chair. Right. So when I sit, everybody sits in their chair though. And that's where I feel at my most secure, comfortable. So I sit there and I'm gonna complain about stuff. And that's the vibe for the recliner of rage. So y'all let me know if you want that segment, to go. Carlos, you say you want the shirt I'm wearing. So for those who are just listening, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says I bench press periodically. Let me sit up so you guys can see it. I did not make this shirt. This shirt is from AOE Apparel, Athletic Over Everything Apparel. You go to aoeapparel.com. My guy, Jason Mike, is the founder of that. It's an awesome little small business. He makes the wrist wraps that I use whenever I'm doing any kind of benching or heavy benching, heavy overhead pressing, anything like that. And those are I'm going to say not probably, those are the best wrist wraps I've ever used. And I've used SBD. I've used the Elite FTS wrist wraps. I've used hold on a second here. I'm actually getting a text message, believe it or not. Okay. Okay. Never mind. Somebody who's actually watching just sent me a text, which is I feel like I just what's that thing? What's that movie where it's like the different mirrors or whatever? I think it was like Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Yeah, that's what I feel like I just stepped into, because somebody who's watching this stream just sent me a text. Anyway, but yeah, I got your text. Okay, cool. So anyway, so the I Bench Press Periodically shirt is from AOE Apparel, and I don't get any money for telling you guys about it. I just really like the shirt. I like supporting small business where I can, and I think it's a really awesome small business. Like I said, he makes the wrist wraps that I use, and I actually paid full price for them. I bought them, and I love them, and I've actually purchased them for other people who I know compete in powerlifting, and I'm like, hey, look, these are the best wrist wraps ever. Like I said, I've used SBD, I've used Elite FTS wrist wraps, I've used like 6 different brands of powerlifting wrist wraps, and these are the best ones. They have good stretch, good flex. I'll put the link to their store in the video description, so if you come back on the replay, you can check it out. It'll be there, so you guys can go check it out. Go check out his store. But it's really, really good. It comes in 3 different lengths, and so you can get the length that fits your wrist size, that gives you the number of wraps that you need. So yeah, definitely check them out. AOEapparel.com, and you'll be able to see it. And then, so this shirt, I Bench Press Periodically, is on there as well. Now let's talk about something else. The Inception. I knew Carlos. So Carlos is the official Garage Gym Life movie reviewer, and he we've got some blog posts that he's got that are going to be coming up on our website, and they are going to be basically he helps us pick out movies that are good movies to watch while you're on a treadmill. I told you guys I like to walk for at least an hour, so I like to put something on that's a good movie I can watch while I'm on the treadmill. So number one, it better not have subtitles. I'm not trying to read subtitles while I'm walking on the treadmill. I need you to talk in English to me while I'm walking. But that's how I roll. But in any case, yeah, so he says, so it's Inception. Yeah, just all the dang mirrors. That's what I felt like just now. All right, let's give you guys an update on the Power Rack project. So I got my Power Rack in, and I have been trying to get stuff for it, and I kept on hitting these snags. I was like starting to get frustrated because I had multiple attachments that were supposed to come. I was supposed to have the first one 2 weeks. So the Power Rack showed up, and by the following Wednesday, I was supposed to have my first attachment for it, and it didn't show up. So then my wife and I said we wanted to go check out Link's Barbell, which is here in Georgia. It's about an hour and a half away from my house. So we said we're going to check out Link's Barbell because we wanted to check out their dip attachment. So this is the weekend of the Arnold. This is last weekend. So we get in the car. We planned our day around going there, right? Because I had been there before on a Saturday. So we planned our day around going there. We're in the car, and I couldn't remember which exit it was. So I was already in the car rolling, and I pulled it up on pull up the maps, right? For driving directions. And when I pulled it up, it said closed. So what do you mean closed? So I called them. I'm like, because I was calling them to tell them, hey, by the way, your website's wrong. It says you're closed, but I know you're open. But guess what? They were closed. So the stuff I ordered didn't show up. I was going to go to Link's Barbell and buy something. It didn't show up. They were closed. So I was like, what the heck? So I finally got my first piece for the Power Rack yesterday. And this is something I ordered after all the other stuff I just mentioned. So I ordered, you guys will be seeing the review for it coming up soon, but I ordered a set of monolift attachments from Crandall Fitness, and 3 days later they were here. They were downstairs. So number one, the shipping is awesome. The box, they showed up in the box, and the box is in good shape. And this will be, I've used monolift attachments before, but this will be my first pair of monolift attachments that I've actually owned. So I'm excited about using them for my bench. I'm pretty much just going to use them for bench pressing. And I know, $300 something is probably sounds like a bit much for just one lift. But for me, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like this is going to help me maintain a good position, which will then help me stay safe because the weight on the bar is starting to creep up a little bit. I'm not at my max yet. I'm still where I could do like sets of 3, but I still want to make sure I'm at the point now where I'm like, I want to make sure that everything is as close to perfect as possible. And the J hooks that came with the power rack, they have that, they're not quite a sandwich J cup, but they've got that deep, that really deep lip. And so whenever you use that in your bench pressing, you're trying to pull the bar out like you should, and it's going to hit the lip. So you actually have to, you go to all the trouble to get yourself set up. Then when you go to press, you're going to lose your tight position because you have to come out of the tight position to press up to get it over the lip of the J hook. And that's no bueno. So you want to get a monolift attachment if you can. Another little stopgap measure that you can try that I've been doing in the past is you take a regular J hook. Don't use like your very expensive Ghost roller J cups. All right. In fact, Ghost roller J cups will probably be good because they have a shallow lip because they're designed for competition use. But I'm talking about your standard J hook. So if you get a simple metal set of metal J hooks, what you do is you can take it to a shop that does metal work and get them to shave it in half. So they'll shave it down so there's just enough lip so that when you go to unrack the bar, you can just pull it straight out like you're supposed to. And that way you'll be able to maintain a tight position without compromising yourself. And but now I don't have to worry about that because I got monolift attachments. I'm going to be going ahead and I have to do a little bit of modification to the power rack in order to get them on there. But I'm excited about getting them. And I've got another piece because Crandall Fitness, my rack has 1-inch holes. So Crandall Fitness makes most of their stuff for 5/8. But I found an adapter on Etsy that I ordered that I'm waiting for that to come in. And it's an adapter that will let you use 5/8 attachments on 1-inch holes. So like I said, this power rack gives me the opportunity to use test a lot of products that I wouldn't have been able to test out with my previous power rack because of how the logistics go. So I'm excited about doing that. I'm excited about getting that going. So I've got a couple of videos coming out. So I've got like a bumper plate review video that's coming out on Monday. And then I've got another review that's to do with a rowing machine. And then after that, I've got another one. So the Crandall Fitness one, you guys are probably, if you're a member of my YouTube channel, you'll see it earlier. But the Crandall Fitness one, you guys probably won't see it for maybe 3 weeks. But the benefit of that is instead of it just being a first impressions review, like an unboxing, I'll actually be able to tell you guys what it's been like training with it. So I'll be able to give you a more comprehensive review because I'm going to have more time to play with it before it's going to be able to come up in the regular publishing schedule for my channel. Because I do for those who don't know, I do one product review a week. And they come out every Monday there's a product review, unless I've done a home gym tour, in which case that comes out on the same day. So I don't do a product review and a home gym tour in the same week. Instead, it's one product review or home gym tour and then the podcast. And those are the two long form uploads that we do here on the channel. So anyway, so if I get stuff, I always have to have it like on a schedule. Even when companies send me stuff, I'm like, hey, this is my publishing schedule. So if you send it to me, it doesn't matter when you send it to me, it's still not going to get published until this date. But the beauty of it is I know I can guarantee you that if it shows up by this time, it's going to come up by this date because I don't miss deadlines. And speaking of reviews, we're actually getting great feedback on the RitFit leg press hack squat combo review that Ashley Romiak did for our channel. Ashley's going to be doing a lot of reviews for us. Not quite one a month, but she's going to be doing them semi-regularly because they're just certain products that I want to get her feedback on because of her background in kinesiology and with and as a coach. So she coaches a lot of clients of various athletic backgrounds in her home gym. And so sometimes I get her to do the reviews for me because she's got a broader talent pool. I guess I can call it a talent pool. She's got a broader base of people that she can draw upon. And she's got a slightly different background, as well as the fact that she's obviously of a different gender than me. So she's a woman and I'm a man. And so she's going to have a different sort of framework. And that actually was proved correct when she did the RitFit leg press hack squat combo, because everybody who's watched her review says that she's brought up stuff that none of the other people who have reviewed either the RitFit leg press hack 2-in-1 leg press hack squat combo have brought up, or even people who have reviewed similar products. None of them have brought up the things that Ashley has brought up because they just don't have the same frame of reference. It's not that their reviews are necessarily wrong. It's just that she brings up stuff that they wouldn't necessarily think of because, you know, your background matters. So like one of the things she brought up is that Ashley was brought up that with where the shoulder pads go over, where the pads go over your shoulders was a little bit wide for her. So she said, so if you don't have really broad shoulders, then that's going to be something where you're going to feel like you're right on the ends. The pads are going to be sitting like right, kind of like on your clavicle bone, as opposed to on your traps, which is where you will want them to be. Because you can think about it, if you're doing a leg press, that's a lot of weight. So you want the weight to be supported by the part of your shoulders that can support the most weight. You want it to be supported by your traps and your upper back. Well, for her, it's a little bit wide. So she had it was almost on her clavicles. So it was a little bit uncomfortable for her. And then she talked about a little bit about the height adjustments and the angle of the pads and things. It was really, really comprehensive. And then she did a follow-up video. We posted it on Instagram, and we're going to be publishing it here on YouTube as well tomorrow. So today's Friday, obviously, way too early for a Friday podcast. We're going to be publishing her follow-up video tomorrow, so you guys can check that out, where she goes a little bit more in depth into the adjustment of the foot plate. So you guys want to keep an eye out for that, because that is going to be something that you don't want to miss. My man, Coach Carp, has arrived. He is here, Central Time Zone. Represent for the Central Time Zone. Quick reminder, we've got my man, Greg Santarsiero from G Code Nutrition joining us at 8:30, thereabout. And if you are just now joining us, what you missed, you want to use the rewind function, because my first guest at the 6 o'clock hour, 6 o'clock Eastern hour, was strongman and powerlifting champion Conor Reilly. Conor is the Static Monsters world champion, and he just won a national. He's actually on pace to break some national records, but he's got some Australian national records. So he competes in Australia in powerlifting and in strongman. And he joined us for the first hour of the show. So if you guys you don't want to miss that, go ahead, use that rewind function and go back and check out my interview with Conor. And he's got some really, really good insights about, number one, the Australian powerlifting and strongman scene. And then also we had some questions about competing when you're sick, and also his advice for if you have a sticking point, how to get through a sticking point on a lift that you're struggling with. So you guys want to make sure that you do that. Anyway, so one more thing. I think I forgot to tell you guys something. Oh, yeah. So I got a bumper plate review. I forgot to tell you guys about. So I got my Living Fit bumpers, right? You guys may have seen the post on Instagram, and make sure you're following at Garage Gym Life on Instagram. So we posted it, and it's basically me sitting with their bumpers. So here's what happened. So Living Fit sent me a bar. They wanted me to review the bar, and I did the review of the bar. You guys should have already seen that. It's here on the Garage Gym Life YouTube channel. But for the purposes of some of the things I was going to do with the bar, I needed bumper plates. And so the owner of Living Fit, Jay Perkins, said, hey, well, I would prefer, since I sell bumper plates, hey, I want you to use my bumper plates in the video. I'm not sure. Okay. So he sent me a pair of their 45-pound bumpers and a pair of their 10-pound bumpers, right? And so that's where those bumpers came from that you see in the video, where I'm testing, like I do a one-arm snatch, and then I did a bent press with 135. And so that was, and that was basically to test how the bar worked for those lifts, right? Well, I was really impressed with how the bumper plates performed. First of all, there's no odor. They are really in this living.fit, in case you're wondering. So I was really impressed with how they performed. So I went ahead and I ordered a pair of their 25s and a pair of their 35-pound bumper plates. So he sent me a pair of 45s and a pair of 10s. And then I went and I bought a pair of 25s and a pair of 35s. So now I've got 10s, 25s, 35s, and 45s. And so I'm going to be doing the review about all of those weights. And that review is going to be dropping on Monday right here on this channel. That's the review you guys are going to see on Monday. It's going to be my bumper plate review. But I'll just give you guys a sneak peek since you're watching. It's some of the things that I really like about them. Because I'm a fan of other. I've got the Rep 45-pound bumper plates, and I've got the Fringe Sport 15-pound bumper plates, and I had a pair of the Rogue Fitness Mil Spec 25-pound bumper plates. Okay, and then I had some no-name 10-pound bumper plates that I've had since like 2015, I think. So I don't have any of those other ones except for the I've still got the Rep 45s and I still got the Fringe Sport 15s because I actually bought those for my wife for Christmas, so we're not getting rid of those. So I got rid of my other bumpers though because we really liked how the living.fit bumpers performed. One of the things that stood out to us was there's a little lip at the top of the bumper plate, so you grab it. My wife has smaller hands than I do, and it's a lot easier for her to grab those bumpers. We're really pleased with the bounce, and we just like how they look. They've got the lettering looks really good. So I was actually really, really impressed. Living Fit is one of those companies that I had not heard of. Shout out to my guy Jonathan, because he actually connected us. Jonathan from No Fake 24/7 actually connected me with Living Fit, and that's what led to me working with them and doing the first product review. And I'm going to be doing some blog posts for their website as well. But all that happened because Jonathan connected us, so I really appreciate that. But in any case, I really like the bumper plates, and so anybody can say they send you the stuff, and this is something that's, I don't want to say it's irritating because I know how the game is played, right? You watch these reviews, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, and everybody's always excited about the thing that they're reviewing. They're like, "Oh, this thing is awesome. Let me tell you about all the cool stuff that it does." And then somewhere around the middle of the video, they're like, "Yeah, so if you want to get it, go ahead, grab it and use promo code such and such," right? Okay, sure. Now, I'll tell you the part of the reason for that is because when a brand reaches out to you, they want you to do the unboxing and all that, but they also, usually they want you to send them the video before you publish it. So they watch the video and then they might come back and say, "Hey, can you change this?" And sometimes they'll even send you example videos like, "Hey, we want you to do a video that's kind of like this one," right? And so if you haven't been doing this long enough, you'll end up saying, "Oh, okay." So you'll think that you got to be a cheerleader for the brand. Well, I'm not about that life. I ain't about that life. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm not about to be an underpaid salesperson for a brand. For me, it's worth you guys trusting my opinion is worth more to me than whatever money the brand is going to pay me for reviewing the whatever the product is. Now, I do get paid, okay? Especially if it's something that wasn't even on my radar, Sometimes they'll reach out to me, somebody will reach out to me and they'll say, "Hey, this thing." And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, "Well, what is it?" Right? So if it's something that I'm picky about what I review, but if it's something that wasn't on my radar, especially, I'm like, you might have to pay me a little bit more because you got to think about it. I've got stuff to review anyway, right? So that I just told you guys, I only release one product review a week. So if I'm going to review this thing, it means I dedicated a significant portion of my time to do the review, to set up, to research it, to find out the specs, to compare it to other products that are in that product and in that category. To the way I review stuff is I use it. All right, so I'm going to work out with it at least a little bit. I'm going to work out with it. Setting up the cameras and everything. I usually use 3 cameras when I do a review. I know some of you guys are like, I don't care about this. It's inside baseball, but I set up 3 cameras for the review. So just setting up everything in order to do it, and then setting up and breaking everything back down after the review is over. Then I got to go edit the video. So it could take you quite a bit of time. I mean, it's nothing for a review to take you 20 hours, but at minimum, it's going to take me 5-6 hours total to do a review. And that's if everything works perfectly. So that means I'm doing the review and I don't have to reshoot the video at all. I didn't mess up anything. I don't have, whatever. Then I send it to the brand. And if they say, oh, by the way, you said this thing, whatever it is, you said it costs $5.99, but it actually costs $3.99. You were looking at the wrong price. Okay. Well, obviously, I got to reshoot the video, right? Because I can't tell you guys the wrong price. Something like that. Because I don't do revisions on my opinion. I do a revision, though, if I get something with a technical specification wrong, I'll do a reshoot. So if I got to reshoot it, then I'll reshoot it. Okay, cool. But you're paying me for my time. All right, fine. But anybody, to get back to the bumpers, anybody can say that a bumper plate or any other product that someone is paying them to review is the greatest thing ever. But to me, when you really believe in the product, you're willing to spend your own money on it. So that's why I told you guys that I got some of it for free. Well, it's not free. I paid sweat equity for it, right? So I got some that were sent to me, and then I turned around and I went out bought some because I really do believe in the product. So when you guys see the review on Monday and I'm talking about it, understand that I really do believe in these bumper plates, and I think you guys will really like them if you choose to grab a pair. So there's that. All right. Now let's go into the chat, and I want to hear from you guys before you log off for work. If you have anything that you want, any questions about any of the stuff that I brought up. I think some people had some other things to say about used shoes, so let's scroll back up. All right, so oh, I went too far. Hang on. All right, so the entire marketplace for clothing rentals. There's a marketplace for renting clothing. Well, yeah. I mean, like I've rented tuxedos for like somebody's wedding. Sure. But there's a difference between renting a tuxedo and buying a shoe that somebody wore barefoot in while they're running and doing obstacle course races and whatever else. Foot fungus all up in their shoe, and then they sell the shoe to me. I mean, I would assume they do some sort of cleaning because you would assume they don't want to get sued because somebody gets foot fungus from using their shoe. But still, I'm kind of like not on board with using. You got to convince me that it's okay. Let's put it like that. All right. You got to convince me that you've taken proper safety precautions if you want me to buy a shoe that somebody else wore barefoot for what I would assume is a significant period of time. Because that's the other thing. Barefoot shoes, I mean, like my Vibram 5 fingers, back when I was wearing the toe shoes, I wore those things for a long, long time. This wasn't like a one and done, 2 months later I got rid of them, because you got to think that a lot of reason why you turn shoes in or you trade your shoes out is because the sole of the shoe starts to wear down unevenly depending on how your posture is. And so then you switch to a new shoe. But with barefoot shoes, there is the sole wore down because they're pretty much flat, right? So you don't have it. So you get to wear it a little bit longer. So that 6 months, I mean, you're looking 6 months, maybe a year of wearing barefoot shoes. That's a lot of funk. And unlike Parliament Funkadelic, we don't want the funk. So sorry. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm just not on board with it. All right. Santiago Alcantara says, I don't mind used shoes, but it's just athlete's foot is a problem. And if you buy new shoes, you try not to use the same one too much because it's going to leave the same. Yeah, I mean, you could give yourself athlete's foot. Like I was saying to Andrew earlier, jungle rot is a thing. Jungle rot is a thing. If you're not familiar with jungle rot, that's something that typically people in the military get because there are times, depending on the operational tempo, meaning like the conditions, you may not be able to, you may have to keep your boots on. I think the longest I've gone without taking my boots off was 48 hours. 48 hours and we couldn't take our boots off. They allowed us to loosen our bootlaces, but we had to keep our boots on because I was in an artillery unit and you had to be ready to jump up if you got a call for fire support. You had to be ready to jump up and respond immediately. And so if you got you're right, you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to find your boots, that's going to slow down your response time. And, you know, people's lives are depending on you. So, like I said, the longest I've gone without taking my boots off in the military was 48 hours. And yeah, then you can end up with jungle rot. So then you have to spend time, you know, taking care of your feet. It's important to let your feet air out. You have, I mean, you can put all the powder you want in them, but eventually you just need to let those things out. You know, I mean, think about it. Like people always say this all the time, but imagine if you wore gloves all the time, you know, because we typically wear shoes all day, like when we're at work and stuff. Imagine if you had gloves on all day, you know, how your hands would eventually you start to get issues with your hands. So it's the same thing with your feet, and your feet are going to sweat. So I'm not on board with wearing somebody's previously enjoyed barefoot shoes with their sweaty feet wearing. Santiago said it's hard to find good shoes, especially if you got flat feet. You know, I've got flat feet, but one of the things that I realized after doing a little bit of research is that you can actually train your foot. So part of the reason you have a flat foot is because the muscles in your foot are weak. And so you can actually I'm this way beyond the scope of this program, but you can, there are things that you can do. They sell products, but you can find free videos on YouTube or whatever for strengthening your foot muscles, and you can restore some of your arch. But the biggest thing is that you need to find a shoe with a good wide toe box so that your toes can spread out and behave normally. Because if you have narrow shoes, you're going to be prone to bunions and all kinds of other nasty things. And I did not anticipate spending this much time talking about feet, but such is life. Let's see here. Pain diversion. So this is stuff. Carlos said, I got my singing voice sounds like an angel, a dark one. All right. So we are all caught up in the chat. All right. So it is almost the 8 o'clock hour. 8 o'clock hour, and it will be time to give a shout out to yet another time zone. So we're getting ready to welcome the Mountain Time Zone to the Garage Gym Life production of the Way Too Early for Friday podcast. I need to get some feedback from you guys. If you are, I know some of you guys are on the road or you're doing whatever, but if you are able, please do me a favor, put in the chat, or if you're watching on replay, put it in the comments what you guys think of this format, because I'm constantly trying to improve it, and so you guys see that this episode is different and has a few more features than last week's episode, and last week's episode had more features than the episode before that. So do me a favor and drop a comment and let me know what you guys think of this format. Do you like the rotating guests where I don't have 2-3 guests on at a time, where I have them sequentially? Let me know what you guys think of the different segments. I know Carlos said that he's a fan of the Recliner of Rage segment, so that right there is a big deal. I appreciate that. So Carlos said he's leaving home and headed to work. He's listening in his earbuds right now. Well, I appreciate that, man. That's right. That's the whole point of this. I don't want you to feel like you're trapped in front of your TV or your laptop or whatever. Wake up, turn this thing on, go ahead and get your day started. Then, have it on your phone and just listen to it as you go along. in general, I try to keep most of the stuff that I have on here to something that I could just describe so you can hear it and still enjoy the conversation and keep up with the show without feeling like you need to actually like be watching, right? Yeah, there are things that by necessity I have to show you. So like the Friday dance party won't work if I don't show you the videos, right? But hey, if you're at home or you're just listening, you can still enjoy the song. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. About the only thing that I would say that you absolutely have to see would be, and even then probably not, but will be when I do my home gym workout reactions. Because if you want to kind of get the full flavor of what's going on, you need to see what the people are doing. But even then, I try to describe what they're doing enough so that you can get it and you understand what's going on. So that's that's just how we do it. All right, you are watching the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast, a Garage Gym Life production. Welcome back. This is Way Too Early for a Friday podcast. Shout out to the Mountain Time Zone. Thank you for waking up with us. It is way too early for a Friday. We have been going since about 6 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is John Greaves III. I'm the founder of Garage Gym Life. This is a Garage Gym Life production, and I am excited. I am waiting for my guest here, and he's just texted me. Looks like he said he's going to be 10 minutes late. So let me go ahead and answer him right there. All right. Yeah, so he's gonna be like about 10 minutes late. So what I might end up doing, he is on his way. All right. Greg's always juggling 75 different things at once, but he is going to be here. So we got proof of life. We did hear from him. We got proof of life, but he is going to be joining us to talk about the G Code brand. So let me see here. Yeah, we may go ahead and just move some stuff around. So I was going to do this with him, but since he is possibly running a little bit late, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go do the workouts now. Okay. So we're going to go into our next segment, which is time to find out what are you doing in your house. All right. So what are you doing in your house is a segment that consists of home gym workout videos that I find on Instagram. Usually people tag me. So if you would like to get your home gym workout video shown on here, if you want me to repost them on Instagram, because I do that as well. If you want me to repost it on Instagram, and if you want me to put it here, do a reaction to it here on the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast, then all you have to do is tag at Garage Gym Life on Instagram, and you will get your home gym workout video featured. All right. So let's go ahead and go into our first video. And there we go. So this is my guy, Matt Kuba. Matt is an IFBB pro bodybuilder. And for those of you who are just listening, Matt is demonstrating a hack for doing calf raises at home. So he's doing donkey calf raises. And what he's done is he's got a Smith machine and he's got a box. So he's got the box in front of the Smith machine and he's hanging his toes off the end of the box. And then he's got the bar of the Smith machine on his lower back. And he's bending over with his hands on that bench right there, which is set up at an incline. So there's a lot of moving parts, but that's what you got to do if you're going to do, calves are one of the toughest things to do in a home gym environment. And that's actually one of the reasons why when U4C Fitness jumped into the chat, I said that I really like their product because their product is a way to do calf raises, standing calf raises. And in fact, let me see. I might be able to, since we're talking about calf raises, I had not actually planned on doing this, but Let me see here. Because they sent me the video. So let me go to their profile here. And if I can pull it up, I'll let you guys see what it looks like. Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, so let me do this here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with you so you guys can check out this right here. All right, so this is their calf raise product. I just saw this yesterday. All right, so they got the block right there. Okay, so this is what most people have to do if they want standing calf raises. My man's struggling. Okay, so now they got a rack. So this is a rack attachment. I think this is the correct video. Yeah, so there you go. So you guys can see that this is the rack attachment. See how it's got a much deeper lip for the J cup. And so you can have the bar in there and you can do you see it goes right onto your rack. They said that it's for 5/8 racks, but then you slide the bar into this J cup that's a lot deeper. Then you put the weight on there and then you go ahead and stand up on there. The only thing is, if I'm doing a standing calf raise, I would actually use a safety squat bar because that way, a well-designed safety squat bar, you don't have to have your hands on the bar. So you could actually hold on to the rack. So the weight could be on your shoulders and then you could be grabbing the rack and then you're going up and down, and then the weight's just sliding up and down inside the J hooks. So that is something. So that's the U4C product. And I literally just found out. I was yesterday years old when I found out about this product. So if you guys want to check that out, you're going to go to, see their Instagram is at U, the number 4, the letter C, fitness on Instagram. And you'll be able to check it out. It's one of the videos it's one of the videos at the top of their timeline. So you guys can check that out. But anyway, that is one of the ways that you can do standing calf raises at home. And then the other hack is obviously the what you saw, what Matt Koba is doing, which is, I mean, it's just hard because I've tried to do donkey calf raises with a dip belt. And the reason why you want to do a donkey calf raise is because you are putting your hamstring in a stretch position. Here, we'll do that again. We'll show Matt again. So he's going to get on there, and when you bend at the waist, you hinge at the waist. Now your hamstrings are in a stretched position, and that's going to give you the maximum stretch for your calves. And right there, that's going to be. I subscribe to the positions of flexion training methodology for bodybuilding, and you want to train the muscle in the stretch position, the contracted position, and mid-range. And so you can't use as much weight on a donkey calf raise, but you don't need as much weight because you get that massive stretch in the muscle before, whenever you're performing the movement. So yeah, that was a donkey calf raise. And now we're going to go to our next one, which is from Eat, Lift, Run Yoga. And what I like about this is she was talking about how she had some adversity. And we've all had to deal with different things at one time or another in our home gyms, some sort of adversity. And I just like how she stays with it. So watch, she's going to try this lift and she's going to fail. And then she's going to come back and try again. All right. So she does a high pull and then she tries to do a snatch and wasn't able to get it, right? She fails the snatch, but she comes right back, does the high pull and snatch. Perfect position. Nails it. I love that. Now, I don't know how much time, let's watch that again. I don't know how much time there was between attempts, but I will say that it's very easy to get in your head. And the thing about weightlifting or Olympic lifting is it is a very, very technical sport. It's a lot more technical than powerlifting. I love the sport of powerlifting, but sad to say, powerlifting is actually considered low skill. I'm not saying that there's no technique, but if you compare the technique that you need for powerlifting to the technique that you need for Olympic weightlifting, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Think about it. In both of the two lifts that you do in weightlifting, you are squatting and doing some variation of the overhead press at the same time. at the exact same simultaneously, right? So that is something that you would never do in a powerlifting meet. Powerlifting meet, you're squatting, then you're bench pressing, then you're deadlifting. And in fact, well, okay, so actually technically you're doing a variation of the squat, a variation of the overhead press, and a variation of the deadlift. Not really, but almost like a deadlift at the same time in both of the Olympic lifts. So they're very, very technical. And as a result, you can easily fail a lift just because you miss your groove. So you have to have a very strong mind in order to be able to successfully compete. You got to just successfully train in Olympic lifting is very difficult. And then I've talked to people who are weightlifters who compete in weightlifting, and they talk about the mind games that go into competing in weightlifting, because you can mess with by the numbers that you pick, you can make your competitor follow themselves. And what I mean by that is in powerlifting, if I do a lift, then I go to the scores table and the judges table, and I tell them, I'm sorry, to the scores table, and I tell them, hey, so let's say I just did 225, right? Then I go and I say, okay, for my next attempt, it's going to be 275. All right, that's fine. So I'm going to be in the rotation, and basically it's rising bar. So whoever's coming right after my 225, they're going to be doing something like 250. So even if I'm competing with somebody else, if I just did 225, the likelihood is they're going to go before I go again, right? Well, in weightlifting, you can do your attempts so that, let's say I just did 225. Let's say I just did 100 kilos. You could say that your next attempt is, and I say my next attempt is 120 kilos. You could say, well, my next attempt is 150 kilos. So that would mean that I just did 100 and the next weight on the bar is 120. So that means I got to go again. I don't get to see you go again. So I can't tell if you actually can get that weight or not, right? And then after I go, let's say I fail the 120, then you can come back and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to go 125. So they can play games with you. So you really have to have your brain locked in and be mentally focused and sharp in order to just execute the lifts, much less to actually compete successfully in weightlifting, because all that's going on. And so to me, when you're training to compete in something like that, it's important to be able to overcome adversity in the gym. That's great for in life too, but this right here, where she failed and then has to come back and try again, that is huge, because that stuff goes into your memory bank, so that you know when you're faced with a difficult situation on the platform, you're like, hey, I know I've overcome this stuff in the past. I've done tougher stuff than this. I can do this. You know what I mean? And so that's just something that I think is really cool that we don't really think about. Before we go to our next person, I'll say that one other thing that we don't think about is, like the value of a home gym, because in a home gym, a lot of times you have the kids come interrupt you. And so you have to develop the skill of being able to stop, somebody fell and cut their knee. Okay, you got to be able to stop, put peroxide on their knee, clean it up, give them the hug, show them the love, let them go play, and then go back to your PR squat attempt like nothing happened. And a lot of people feel like they can't do that. But if you develop that skill, when you go to a competition, it's going to serve you well, because I've competed in multiple powerlifting meets. I've helped handle people at powerlifting meets. I have live streamed multiple powerlifting meets. And I have never, and we're probably at 100 powerlifting meets I've attended in some capacity, whether I was competing in it, or I was helping somebody, or I was live streaming. Okay. And I have never, not one time, seen a powerlifting meet where something didn't go wrong. And it could be something as simple as a weight was misloaded. So you go to lift it, start your lift, and you realize that the weight's wrong. So now you got to back off and let them change the weight. And then you got to get your mind right and go again. to something as bad as, I remember I've been at meets where the person ahead of me got hurt. So they're doing the exact lift that I'm about to go do. Maybe not with the same weight, but so they're squatting. I'm about to squat. They get hurt squatting. And I see them get hurt. That gets in your head. You have to be able to remove that distraction. Now, let's say you compete in knee wraps. You have to time when you put your knee wraps on, because if you put them on correctly, your toes will start to go numb. If you put knee wraps on correctly, they will be so tight that your toes will go numb if you have them on for too long. You, in fact, have to get, a lot of times you have to get somebody to help you take them off. So you put them on, you try to time it so that the person ahead of you is approaching the bar, getting ready to squat when you finish wrapping your knees. All right, so you get your knees wrapped and something goes wrong with the person ahead of you. So now there's a delay and they are changing the weight out, or they're trying to figure out what was wrong, or they're going to the scorer's table, whatever's going on, right? Meanwhile, your toes are slowly going numb. So you got to be able to take your knee wraps. You got to take your knee wraps off. But that means you got to get your mind right. They'll say, okay, well, we're going to let you have some time and we'll put you in a different spot to come back and, whatever, right? All that can mess with your head. And so to me, that's another thing that I say is valuable about competing or training for competition if you have a home gym, because your family, my family understands now. So if they were to come in, they will wait. If I was in the middle of a set, they'd wait till I was done. But initially, they didn't know that. They're coming. There's nothing for my kids to come up and ask me a question. I'm at the bottom of a squat, which is remarkably similar to what used to happen when I worked in a public gym my first 5 years out of college. I remember I was squatting one day, and this guy came over. I was at the bottom of the squat, and he said, hey, when you get done, can you come spot me? And look, I'm fine with spotting you. I'm fine with that. But I will prefer that you at least wait till I rack the weight before you come ask me something. He didn't ask me when I was at the top, right? That would have been bad too, but it's better than coming talking to me while I'm at the bottom of the squat. Hey, man, by the way, hey, man, come touch me on the shoulder. Hey, when you get done, can you come spot me on the bench? What? No. Yes, I went ahead and I spotted him. I was at work. That was my job. But people don't get that. So anyway, so those distractions, as I said, are things that you need to be able to, you kind of have to train yourself to get around. Michael Phelps, the Olympic champion in multiple swimming events, his coach used to do stuff to him on purpose to mess with his head in training leading up to the Olympic Games, because he wanted him to get used to dealing with adversity and performing anyway. And so I think that you should relish these moments like what Eat, Lift, Run Yoga had to go through, because those are the things that really they can make or break you. All right. Final one. Joey Jungle Jim. He said this is active rest. He got the active part right. So it looks like he's just throwing a sandbag around, doing some sandbag throwing. I would assume, because he's calling this active rest, that this is a day where it's not really part of his programming. You kind of just, it's one of those things where you kind of say, all right, I'm just going to go in the gym and I'm going to do a couple of sets of something for a few, I'm going to do a couple of reps of something for a few sets. That's like where it's like kind of like, I wouldn't say it's unplanned, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like what the bodybuilders call instinctive training, where you kind of walk in and you're just like, I'm just going to do what I feel like. And I'm just focusing on moving. You know what I mean? And the whole point is I'm going to get in here. I'm going to do fun stuff for an hour, get my blood pumping. And there's some value in that, because it gives you a mental break from all the programming and all that kind of stuff, while at the same time letting you just enjoy just playing. And I think as adults, we don't play enough. There's so much of life that is serious. We need to play a lot more. And I'm 100%. You got all these toys in the gym. Play with them. Everybody's like, oh, I treat training like it's my job. I'm like, well, That's great, but you got to enjoy it too, man. I mean, I've been lifting weights since 1993, and I would not have been able to be consistent with it if I didn't enjoy my training. I can say that I've never gone in that time. I've never willingly gone more than 3 days without exercising in some way. So, yeah, when I was in boot camp for the Marine Corps, I didn't lift weights as often. But I mean, obviously, you exercise in boot camp, right? And then I've been sick. But even if I'm sick, I still do stuff because I'm a proponent of the don't miss, modify. I didn't come up with that. Matt Winning did. But I love that. It's like, don't miss your workout, modify it. So maybe I was supposed to go in here. And in fact, when I got hurt this last Sunday, I actually did that. So my lower back was tight. I told you my knee was swollen. And normally I squat. And so it happened Sunday. Well, Monday is my squat day. Well, I'm obviously not in any shape to be squatting triples with a swollen knee. So what I did was my bench day is normally Tuesday. I moved bench press day to Monday, and I moved my squat day to Tuesday. So one, I changed the exercise, but I still went in the gym at the same time. Then on Tuesday, when it was time to squat, I did a different kind of squat. So I posted that on Instagram, and I squatted with my Hatfield handles, and that was I think I still did triples, but I did the Hatfield handles. So I was doing Hatfield squats instead of normal squats, right? So I still did hard work. I still put in the work, but I didn't, and I kept blood flowing in and out of my injured area. But I didn't just say, oh, well, I'm hurt, I'm going to lay on the couch. Because that's what normal people do. Normal person gets hurt and they don't do anything. They just lay down. Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you just need to rest. And I'm not a doctor, so don't be taking medical advice from me, all right? Don't do that. Just like I don't take medical advice from you guys. Don't take medical advice from me. But I am saying that in my experience, it is better to keep moving even if you have an injury, because the flow of blood in and out of the injured area helps speed up the healing process. So you want to keep moving. And if you don't move, not only, depending on what the injury is, not only do you slow down the healing, but you also run the risk of shortening the tendons and ligaments, because when you get some sort of soft tissue injury, your tendons and ligaments will shorten in order to, it serves as a natural cast. So they shorten in order to protect whatever the injured body part is. And if you don't keep moving, that's your new range of motion. So an example of that is I fell in my backyard a few years ago and I hurt my left elbow. Well, I rested it. And as a result, now my left arm doesn't bend past 90 degrees. So if you ever want something entertaining to watch, you watch me if I'm taking like some supplements or something, if it's like some sort of capsule or even vitamins or whatever, I always use my right hand because I can't touch for those of you watching, I'll show you. This is as far as my hand goes towards my face compared to this hand, compared to my right hand. So my left hand doesn't touch my face and my right hand does. So if I got to take like a Flintstone chewable, and I use my left hand, I actually end up just throwing it into my mouth. My wife thinks it's hilarious because I can't put it in my mouth. I mean, I'm right-handed anyway, so I wouldn't be shaving with my left hand, but I'm just telling you, that's just something that, and it happened because I didn't continue to move through full range of motion, and so I lost that range of motion. So you don't want to put yourself in that sort of situation, man. You get hurt, keep on moving. Like Soul to Soul said, keep on moving, don't stop. No, keep on moving, because you're going to do yourself more harm than you intended. if you do that. All right, now I want to hear from you guys. Those of you who are still able to access the chat, I know some of you guys have headed to work. Do you have any? What are your tips? I know I said I'm not taking medical advice, but I don't mind getting tips from people. So if you got a tip for how to work around an injury, or we were talking to Conor earlier, we're talking about how you work around it when you are sick. If you have like an illness and you have a competition coming up, he gave some advice for it. I'll say one. I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but stay hydrated. You want to get some rest. So, especially if it's like a head cold or something, anything like above the neck, head cold, you want to get as much rest as you can. I'm also a big fan of the Navage. I use that religiously, especially during allergy season and whenever cold season is around. I use it every day anyway, but I'll go from once a day to maybe twice a day. I use the Navage and just keep myself nice and irrigated. I don't get paid for telling you guys that. That is not a sponsored mention. I don't think. Hey, maybe I can do it. Hold on. Maybe I can. Let's see if we can work that out. Can I do that? Can I add something? Can I add Navage? Let's see. Will it do it? Oh, I don't know. Okay, whatever. All right, so if you were watching this, there is a shopping button at the bottom corner. I don't remember. I can never remember which corner of the video it is. But if you click on that shopping button, you will see the stuff that I mentioned. So you'll see like the Hyper Ice that it actually is a good product. I just got frustrated because it stopped working when I needed it to. It's working fine now. I've been using it. The Hyper Ice, and then I've also got some other Normatec products that I use because I did use the Normatec 3, and that was huge because it gave me compression and heat. And so that went a long way to helping get the swelling down in my leg. And then I used the Normatec Go, and that helped out because my left calf also got swollen. Just as it was like a cascade effect, man. All this stuff just kept happening. So my knee was swollen. Then after I got my knee under control, then my calf was swollen. Yeah. So using the Normatec Go, the compression sleeve, was a big deal. So you guys click that shopping button, and you'll see all the stuff. It's in the bottom corner. Like I said, I don't remember which corner of the video it's in, but if you click on it, it will show you these products. And then I just linked to the Navage. I'm not sure if that one actually supports the channel if you click on it, but at least I gave you the link so you can find it for yourself. But I was skeptical when I saw the Navage on late night TV because, I mean, you know, infomercials, come on, man, whatever. But I was actually pleasantly surprised when I used it. And it does take a little bit of, I say, getting used to, because you're basically plugging your nose up and putting water in your nose. But I mean, you just got to breathe through your mouth and you're fine. And now it's a game changer. I've had it I've been using the Navage for maybe 3 years, and I wouldn't go back to the old way. So I'm a huge fan of Navage. So shout out to Navage for that. You can, I think I bought mine at like CVS or something like that, but you can obviously find them online as well. All right. So as I said, we were going to have my guy, Greg from G-Code Nutrition was going to be coming on, but he said he's going to be running a little bit late. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and send him a follow-up text. He said he was trying to get his kids on the bus. So I'm just texting him now. And I'm texting him, just telling him jump in as soon as you can. All right. So he has the link. Hopefully, I had to make sure because like last week I was like, yeah, I had Dennis Solis join, and I was like, where is this dude? And I hadn't sent him the link to join. So this time I made sure I sent him the link. So Greg should have the link. So we should be all good. All right. As a reminder, let me tell you guys what's coming up next week though, while we wait. So next week we've got a special treat for you guys because Kayvon Kuzani from Bells of Steel, he is the founder of Bells of Steel. He's going to be joining the program. And Highland Games champion Jarvina Rout will also be joining us. She is a multi. I don't know. She might be. I know she's in the top 10 of Highland Games athletes in the world, but I don't know if she's number one. I need to double check that. But she is a very, very skilled Highland Games athlete. And she trains in a garage gym, aside for the throwing stuff. But she trains in a garage gym. So I'm eager to get her on to learn from her. And like I said, Kayvon Kuzani is going to be joining us. So you guys watch out for that because he's going to be talking about a lot of topics. We'll be talking about Home Gym Con. By this time, you guys already know, or you should know, why Bells of Steel was not going to be at Home Gym Con, but they are now. They have they've pivoted and they're going to be at Home Gym Con. So we'll be talking about what to expect from the Bells of Steel booth at Home Gym Con. We'll be talking about what he is at. He went to URSA. I can never remember what URSA stands for. It's industry. What's URSA is it's a fit expo, right? And in fact, Body Solid and some other companies are there. But URSA is what is this thing called? URSA. Let's find out. What is URSA? It's IHRSA. I know this is riveting content here while I'm searching for something. What does URSA stand for? Yeah. Okay. No wonder I don't ever remember it because it's definitely not what I would have thought. Excuse me. It's the International Health Racket and Sports Club Association. I'm here thinking it's the International Health something professional. No. International Health Racket and Sports Club Association. And what that is a trade association for the health club industry. So, we call them gyms now, but they back in the 50s and they used to call them, and actually probably before that, they used to call them health and fitness clubs, right? So URSA is where people who own like Gold's Gym, Lifetime Fitness, Anytime Fitness, places like that, I would assume Planet Fitness, they go to this place and that's where they get to see equipment that they can use for their chain. So a franchise will go and they'll say, maybe they see Body Solid at the event, and then they can decide based upon what Body Solid has to offer if they want to use Body Solid in, let's say, their Lifetime Fitness facilities around the United States, right? So it's a big deal, especially for a brand like Bells of Steel, because this is an opportunity where you can sign a deal. We're thinking like, the home gym community is important because we are really where innovation lives, and we have greater attention to detail when it comes to equipment and like the little stuff that has to do with equipment. We have more attention to detail than that for stuff like that than a public gym owner. Okay. Like we're looking at your bolts and we want to know this and that, all these intricacies. Is this clear coat? We want to know all that. They're not asking all that. Okay. What they want to know is they'll try it. How does it work? How much does it cost? Am I going to be able to lease it or do I have to buy it? What's your maintenance like? Because, if I end up, let's say it's a treadmill and this thing is down, I can't have it down because then my clients, my customers who come in won't be able to use it, my members. So they're going to get mad if the treadmill's always down. So what's the maintenance schedule like for it? How durable is it? They will probably add, what's the load rating, that kind of stuff. But anyway, it is a big deal for a company like Body Solid because you are now going to be tasked with, if you get a contract with Lifetime Fitness, for example. Let's see how many. Yeah, how many Lifetime? So there, as of February 2024, there were 208 Lifetime Fitness locations in the United States. So imagine if your equipment brand got a deal with Lifetime Fitness to outfit their facility. right? And remember, it's not going to be just like, oh, one bench. You know, they're selling like me one bench because I only need one. Now, if they say you're outfitting our facility, they may have 5-10 benches in the gym, right? And all the other pieces of equipment. So you're selling whatever the thing is that they buy or they lease from you, multiply that by, let's say, 5, okay? And then multiply that by 208. So this is the sort of event that's really could be a make or break for a brand. And so I'm going to talk to him a little bit about Ursa. And I mean, we'll talk about the Arnold a little bit too. The thing with the Arnold is really more for like supplements and apparel, which is why I tell people, you know, when I talk about Home Gym Con and why I think it's good for home gym owners, I've been to the Arnold multiple times. I mean, multiple times. In fact, Greg, who's coming on soon, that's where I met him. I met him at the Arnold. I've known him since like 2014, 2015. And we met at the Arnold. So the Arnold's great and all that, but it's not really equipment focused. Yes, you can take your stuff to the Arnold, and you it's one of those things where it's like you want to be there just to say you were there because you kind of start to get on people's radar because you're at the Arnold as a brand. But you're not gonna get, I don't feel, you're not gonna get the in-depth conversations with potential customers that you get at Home Gym Con or that you would get at somewhere like Ursa, because people are there focused on getting your equipment. They don't have, at the Arnold, you got like every 5 steps there's somebody handing you pre-workout. Every 5 steps there's some weird thing happening. There's somebody walking by dressed as Mr. Incredible. It's very crowded and cramped. It's weird. There are bodybuilders there, personalities. People are lining up to talk to this bodybuilder or that bodybuilder, or meet this CrossFit athlete, meet this strongman competitor, whatever, right? So there are a lot of distractions. Whereas you go to Ursa, Idea is another one. The Idea Expo, those things, like, it's a little bit more of I wouldn't say relaxed, but you can, if you're a brand, you can kind of get your product out there a little bit more. So we're gonna talk to Kazan about that, and we'll talk about what he's looking forward to at Home Gym Con as well. And then I want to ask Jarvina about Highland Games from the standpoint of how her training in her home gym helps support it. Because to be so when I was talking to Conor earlier, he was mentioning that he's a very good presser. Conor's got a 374-pound, obviously he competes in kilos, but his max bench in competition is 374 pounds. Okay. He's a very strong presser, but he said he's never been a good thrower. And one of the things that you find when you are good at pressing is either your leverages just are bad for it. If you're good at pressing, you typically aren't good at throwing because your leverages might be bad. You think about like a baseball player or a quarterback. They tend to have long arms. Well, long arms are good for deadlifting, but they're not good for like bench press and things like that. And so Jarvina trains in her home gym, and I'm interested to talk to her to find out how she manages to make sure that she's not lifting too much. The concept of being muscle bound is a myth. Okay. There's no such thing as muscle bound, but you still do need to, well, there's no such thing as muscle bound as long as you're a grown up and you stretch. Okay. You stretch, you maintain your mobility. You can become tight. But in that situation, it's not that you're tight because your muscle, whatever muscle bound really is. It's because you have allowed your tendons to shorten. Your nervous system might be firing too much. Like you have too much tonus. And so it might be a nervous system issue because of all the lifting, especially if you're doing a lot of work at high percentages of your max. So if you're doing a lot of work in the 90% range, 85, 90% range, you're doing, reps of 3s, you're doing a lot of triples and doubles, things like that. That's going to tend to make you tight because your nervous system is, and then think about you're bracing all the time too. So your nervous system, I just caught myself bracing in my seat. That's funny. So your nervous system is adapting to is adapting to being tight all the time. And you have to let your nervous system, you have to send a signal to relax. Well, if you're all tight and bound up, you're not going to be able to generate enough torque to be a good thrower. And, you know, in Highland Games, everybody thinks about carrying the caber, but you also have a lot of things where you have to throw a weight over a bar. You have to throw a weight for distance. You have multiple weights you have to throw for distance. You're not going to be able to do that if you can't generate torque. You're not going to be able to do it successfully if you can't generate torque. And so I'm curious to find out about that aspect of Jarvina's training, in terms of how that will, you know, how her training, how she basically gets the two different parts of her training to kind of complement each other instead of fighting against each other. So that's something that's going to be important there. All right. See here. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and prep you guys for my segment that I have with Exponent Edge, because he has some stuff. I'll let you guys, you may have already seen the Infinity Bench, but he's got the Infinity Bench. That thing, I'm not kidding. When I saw it, it was like a transformer. In my head, I heard the transformer sound. Like that sound was in my head. Like, whoa, what just happened, right? Because the Infinity Bench, I'm not saying it's never been done. Okay, I'm not saying it's never been done, because as soon as I say that, somebody's gonna be like, "Oh no, actually, this one thing from, you know, whatever." Especially as a student of physical culture history, I have learned that, you know, things go in cycles. So as soon as you say that something's never been done, it somebody will, you know, will pull it up and show you that it was done. But I will say that this bench is revolutionary. Okay, it is it's something that I've not seen done before. So I'll go to I posted it on my Instagram, and see if we can, yeah, there we go. So let me share my screen real quick. For those of you, if you're listening, you can watch it on replay, or you just go to my Instagram at Garage from Life, and it's one of the most recent videos that I posted. So Jay's using the bench, and you're gonna see he's got multiple configurations for this bench, because he said he wanted to design something that he's got a very small space. His home gym is only 180 square feet, so he's a big believer in designing stuff that will fit multiple functions, so that you don't have to have multiple pieces of equipment to do something. You want to have one piece of equipment that does a lot of things, if possible, without compromising the structural integrity of the piece of equipment in question. So he went ahead and he designed this bench so that it would be, basically fulfill that. And so the Infinity Bench, it is not out on the market yet, but he is taking pre-orders. And so we're going to be asking him questions about that. So if you guys have any questions about the Infinity Bench, even if you're just if you're at work and you're not able to be active, go ahead and check out the video on Instagram real quick, and then come back here and drop any questions you have here, because I'm not going to be able to see my Instagram. So drop any questions you have about the bench here in the live chat, and then I will ask Jay, and then you'll be able to listen as I ask Jay the questions about the Infinity Bench. I hope that made sense. If you're already familiar with the Infinity Bench, if you've already seen the video, then cool. Just go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, put your questions in the comments, and I will forward those questions to Jay and get him to answer those questions for you. But it is I mean, this bench is amazing to me. It's I like stuff to be multifunctional, but sometimes I'm skeptical, because when something does too many things, I'm like, yeah, but does it do these things? It does 5 things, but does it do them well? You know, I'd rather have something that does 3 things well than something that does 5 things poorly, right? But in this case, it looks like he's knocked this out of the park. And so I'm looking forward to asking him questions about that as well. That's coming up at the 9 o'clock hour. Go ahead and I'll stop sharing my screen here. Okay. All right, here we go. So coming up in a few minutes, we're going to have, as I said, Jay from Exponent Edge. He'll be joining us. I don't know what's going on. My guy Greg, I hope he's okay. He said he's hustling. I've texted him. He's got stuff. Oh, he just texted me back. Let's get an update. He said he's here. Okay. I don't. So I don't see him. Hang on a second. So what I'm doing right now is texting him. Because I think he said he's clicked the link, but it looks like he hasn't entered the studio yet. So for you guys, basically, he's all right, so hang on a second. All right, what I'm gonna do, because he said he's here, I'm gonna make sure I send him the correct one. Hopefully it was the right one. All right. So I resent him the link. Because I do not see him. I see myself, and that's it. I think he went into the wrong stream, so let's make sure. That's the magic of technology and radio. This is technically, I'm actually thinking about trying to see if I can move this to internet radio. So we'll see if this works out. We're only going to have about 10 minutes with him, so I want to make sure I'm not the cause. Okay, let's see here. So we'll wait for him to connect. Let me go ahead and pull up some of the stuff here. Because this is his, you got their new product. There we go.
More like it.
Bamo! Look at that. The man himself. Oh, wait a minute. I have to introduce you properly.
Waaay.
I got to do this. You deserve, you're worthy of this. All right, here we go.
Oh, man. Okay.
Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, our next guest is my man, Greg Santarsiero. All right, there we go. The man himself, Greg Santarsiero. Welcome.
How are you, my man? Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for your patience. Thanks for waiting for me, brother.
Hey, my man, you've had a rough little turnaround. So let's just jump right into it because we only got about 10 minutes before my next guest comes on. But what we'll do is we'll keep going, and then when I see Jay pop into backstage, then we'll go ahead, we'll wrap it up, and I'll let him come on. But let's jump
Sounds
in
great.
because I want to talk about your product. So first of all, how was the Arnold, man? You had you actually were a commercial for Vice because you had the marathon drive. So everybody's the pre-workout. You were drinking Vice, and that took you. I know you. How many gallons of Vice did you drink to get you to Columbus from Jersey?
A decent amount, probably more than the recommended dosage, I would say, by a vast amount. But yeah, it was sort of last minute. Us being at the Arnold, us having a presence there this year. But it was important to me because, well, it's something that we've done every year. It's day one of our brand. was the 2017 Arnold Classic. So I wanted to keep that tradition alive. And then at the same time, it was also March 1st, Friday, March 1st was the day that we had slated to launch the Tri-Chamber. So,
right.
Which is our own custom container, which I know we're going to talk about. We made the drive. I made the drive from Jersey to Columbus, Ohio, which ended up being about 9 hours and change. And then with stops and eating, et cetera, it ended up probably being about 11 hours to get out there, 11 hours to get back. All things considered, it was fantastic. But, you know, I spent a good portion of this week, and I feel like I'm still sort of recovering from it. Just because, you know, it's essentially Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Arnold, at least for me. I said it's almost like you're a military guy, so you'll understand this, and I'm taking liberties with using this sort of language, but it's almost kind of like a bunker mentality out there for us, especially for me, where I'm just so locked in on the job and you know, doing the best I possibly can to execute the best booth possible at the expo, and you know, just do everything I can to check every box possible to make the brand present the brand in the best way I possibly can. Sometimes under challenging circumstances, kind of like this weekend where things came down to the wire. And so we were kind of looking at, like I said, 72 hours of that bunker mentality sandwiched between two like 10-hour drives. So yeah, I'm a little banged up, but it was all wonderful. It was all fantastic and all well worth it. So it was great to be there.
Man, I definitely, so I went 23 hours without sleep Tuesday to Wednesday, just because of how things worked out.
Sure.
And I tell people all the time, like, I use your stuff. I said, man, I use G Code products. I use Vice. I got a new product. I got a new potion, right? So I already had the potion, right? So I had the cherry bomb, but I'm not doing the cherry bomb right now because I'm missing some ingredients.
Okay.
So I made my new. I made another one. I call it the potion of well-being. So
I like it.
I'm a gamer, right? And so everybody's like, the potion of well-being is when you combine a health potion and a stamina potion, right?
Sure.
So
makes sense.
It just makes your life right. So what I did is I took so the ingredients are 2 scoops of ice, blueberry, then a scoop of life, which
nice.
I would say I happen to have it here, but it's planted on purpose. So I got my scoop.
Yes.
Then so it's 2 scoops of ice, the pre-workout, then a scoop of life, then a scoop of Rise.
Yep.
Because I like doing the Life and Rise combo. I know a lot of people like to do the Vice Rise combo. I actually like to do Life and Rise combo.
Incredible together.
And then I do it as well. That when I go to sleep. So
nice.
So Life is a greens drink for those who are not familiar with it. But what I do is so when I first wake up, it's the potion of well-being. I do the crushed ice, so it's a slushy.
Right.
And then crushed ice, so it's a slushy. And then it's the Vice, the Life, and the Rise all in there. And then I plan on dominating my days. So I take my first dose of King. And so it's like, and that's my thing. So yeah, that's what I do, man.
That's beautiful, man. It's an honor to know that you're utilizing so many of our products in your daily regimen. But then beyond that, also, I just want to concur, right? Like I utilize Vice, Vice Triple X as needed, either around my training or as it relates specifically to my lifestyle. And so days like that, right? Marathon days or days where you're making long drives or whatever, and you need that extra edge. But then the Life and the Rise together, that's like a daily sort of, like you were saying, wellness cocktail that we make where, you're sort of combining natural antioxidants and, just sort of health affirming nutrients, micronutrients with, amino acids for recovery, hydration, components, immune support vitamins, all that together. So Life and Rise together is like a perfect combination, I think, just for like daily health and wellness. It's something that I utilize all the time. We utilize it in our house all the time, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I take this stuff because it's like, I mean, my schedule is hectic, and so
of course.
I like to, and I often end up having to sleep during the day.
Sure.
And so that's already not ideal. The circadian rhythms are thrown off. And so I'm like, well, what can I do to maximize what I got going on? Try to maximize what I can do in every way possible.
Of course.
So I take this stuff here. But I don't want to miss out on the Tri-Chamber because this is something that's revolutionary. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to share the screen so everybody who is watching right now will be able to see it. and I
Yeah.
want you to go ahead, talk me through this tri-chamber situation here. All
Okay.
right, so this is the tri-chamber.
Yes, sir.
Why? Tell everybody like what it is, because this is like 3-in-1. So go ahead and break it down.
Yeah, so it's a patent pending custom container that we created, with the thought being, and this is sort of like I think it comes from sort of both sides of the counter, if you will, if we're talking about consumer experience, right? From a consumer psychology standpoint, being a consumer personally, and then also being aware of what happens in stores, what happens, with our vendors, in terms of people walking into a store and purchasing a product. Something that we noticed was that there are consumers, and it could be you and I in some instances, right, over the years, where we will find a product that we love. We will find a product that works well for us, that's effective for us, that checks all of the boxes in terms of performance, in terms of it could be every factor, right? Performance, bang for the buck, how you feel utilizing it, how it tastes, right? But even in those circumstances, consumers will stray to another product, another brand, simply because they got bored with what they were consuming all this time, even if it was so great for them or so effective for them. We call that flavor. That's a phenomenon we call flavor fatigue, right? Which means that no matter how effective a product might be for you, you just want to taste something different. You get bored utilizing the same thing day after day, and as such, you just want to try something new, right?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we try to address that from the jump and try to figure out how can we keep the consumer imagination? How can we keep them locked in and engaged with us and what we're doing? Well, one way we could do it is if we could provide them with variety every day. And that was the goal behind the tri-chamber. If you recall from the earliest days of our brand, when we first launched the original Vice, we had it in 3 15-serving containers, shrink wrapped
they were
together.
like shrink wrapped together. Yeah.
Yes. So it was that shrink wrapped unit of 3 different flavors in one. And that concept was the predecessor to the tri-chamber. So that was the idea of like, how do we give you variety from the jump? How do we call that the tri-pack? This is the tri-chamber.
Well, I mean, that was like 3 innovations, and that was more than one innovation, because first of all, you guys were the first ones to do soda-inspired flavors. So you had cherry soda, that's a cherry Pepsi. You had grinding grape, which is obviously grape soda, and then you had legend lime, which is sort of like
Mountain Dew. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So this thing has 30 servings in it.
Correct.
So how is that broken down?
10 each of 3 different flavors. Yep. 10 each of 3 different flavors. So you're getting a full 30 servings, but you get 10 each of 3 different flavors, which means that from day to day, 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, you don't have to use the same flavor over and over again. And every day can be a little bit different. And then also, for guys like you, who are mixologists and who are more adventurous, there might be there are plenty of opportunities to mix the different flavors together, which is something else that we also encourage. Literally, we launched it 1 week ago, and that was 1 week ago direct to consumer, 1 week ago at the Arnold, 1 week ago started selling it to vendors. So even in that instance, like, there aren't that many people who actually have had it in their hands yet.
Right.
but I feel like it's one of those things where once people have had it for a couple
I'm headed to
weeks,
my mailbox when this is over. I'm going to my mailbox to wait by.
You should have had it by now. I'm very much looking forward to getting the text that tells me that you have yours in hand.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I actually have plans for it even after I empty it, because I thought it's phenomenal, because I was like, okay, well, I just told you that I like to do Vice, Life, Rise.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, I can pour that in there and use that, like,
you can
to put it at an alternate location, like at work or something like that. Just
absolutely.
Have it there. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, we hear, we did a test run of these prior, but one of the things that people say about the container itself is that it's so nice in comparison to a typical supplement container that they want to keep it and utilize it for something. So the thought that it could be environmentally an environmentally conscious purchase too, and that somebody can get it and then get more life out of the container once they actually finish the product is cool as well. So yeah, that's a perfect example of a way to utilize it, right? Where you can use 3 of your favorite products, 3 different products, put them in the empty container, and then give it new life. And like you said, it can be your stash in your vehicle, or
Yeah.
like you said, at work or in
Or like
an
when you're
alternate
traveling.
location.
Yeah,
So
that's it. That's what I'm saying. It's
exactly,
like I can just have these things
exactly.
and just take with me when I'm traveling.
Yep. I mean,
So
condense them down into one unit.
So what most people don't realize is I'm not a big fan of affiliate links. I just don't. But G Code Nutrition is one of the only brands. There's only 2 brands that I've done affiliate links with, and I simply believe you believed in me when like people outside my family didn't, really weren't. It was you and my family members, right?
Sure.
And I believe, knowing your background, knowing your heart for this, I believe in your product. And so G Code is one of only 2 brands that I have an affiliate link with. So if anybody wants to try what we're talking about, try the Tri Chamber, try any of the supplements that we mentioned. Like I said, I take them all the time. I've got the banner going across the bottom of the screen right here. I'll pop up so you guys can see it. So you can get the Vice Tri Chamber or whatever you want. Just go to shop.gcodenutrition.com. And then our promo code is Best Gym in Town for obvious reasons, because you know what I think of a home gym. Greg is a home gym owner also, by the way.
I am as well. Yes, sir.
But yeah, so you go to shop.gcodenutrition.com, use promo code Best Gym in Town, and you will be able to grab that. You'll save 10% at checkout, but then you'll also be able to try these products. Greg, man, I know that we don't have a whole lot of time. I appreciate you hustling to come talk to me.
Of course. No,
right?
of course.
We're gonna have you back on here, man.
I'm very much looking forward to it. It's funny, the thought I was trying to make was when I was saying that you're a mixologist and you've come up with your own recipes. What I was trying to say is that people are just getting this in their hands now, and I feel like once they've had it for a week or so, they'll start to mix different flavors together also, which is one of the other cool components that comes with it, is that you can sort of create your own flavors from scratch.
Oh yeah, because I remember when I mixed it with soda water. So it was like I was having a healthy soda, so that was
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great for that. Man. Absolutely. No doubt, man.
Well, my man, I appreciate you being here. I hate that we got to cut it short.
Of course.
I got my next guest in here.
We'll do it again, my brother. We'll do it again. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate making time for our brand, and I appreciate your faith and support over the years always.
Heck yeah. Oh, and you guys need to check out his podcast. It's called The Squadcast. It's hilarious. You'll understand. You will learn. After you listen to it, you'll know how to compare food to a napkin. And I'm not going to tell you any more than that.
That's just one example. Yes, sir.
All right. It looks like you have there's something in the comments. This says I'm definitely going to try your brand, bro. So you got
beautiful
a brand new customer from this, man. That's
much appreciated, man. We're a relationship brand, man. We're a family brand. We mean that literally, man. So like, every time someone puts their hard-earned consumer dollars, and votes for our product and our brand in this very hyper-competitive industry, it's an honor and a pleasure, and they truly become our family. So I don't take that for granted, man.
I didn't plan on saying this, but so my guy Jay Benoit, you need to be checking this out, because you have a home gym and you have a small home gym. Your space is limited. So Jay has a bunch of products. His company's called Exponent Edge. He's gonna be coming up right after you, right?
Cool.
Well, Jay is. I'm gonna give you the big screen because I want people to see your face when I say this, right? Jay is a power builder.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And the reason yeah. And the reason I gave him the big screen is, little known fact, you learned it only here. Greg is the first person to use the phrase power building. So he actually coined the phrase power building. So
we should have trademarked it, man. We should have trademarked it.
I told you, man. I'm so ashamed of you. Nah, man. Anyway, I appreciate you being here, my man. I will
absolutely, man.
I'll catch up to you. All right. I'll shoot you a text. All right.
Yeah, looking forward to it, brother.
All right, man. My best to the family.
Thank you again, man. Yep. Right, same to yours, brother. Bye.
All right. That was Greg Santarsiero. And now we've got our final guest of the day, the man himself. I'm going to make sure he doesn't chop me across the chest like another Benoit, but we're going to be joined by welcome Jay Benoit, Exponent Edge. Show him some love. Jay Benoit.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, man. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just trying to make sure I got a pretty decent setup in here for your session. I think my ring light's a little bit too bright. I might turn it down just a tad.
Nah, man. So looking good. Nah. If it's too bright for you, look. Most of by this time of the day, by this time of the day, most of the people from the other time zones are actually just listening, so they can't even see this anyway. So you're doing good. All right, but so first of all, you and I, let's go ahead and say good morning to the West Coast. Shout out to the West Coast. This is the Way Too Early for Friday podcast. This is the only fitness morning show, I think, in existence. My guest today, final guest for the day, is Jay Benoit. Jay is the founder, CEO of ExponentEdge.com. They have some innovative home gym products, especially if you have a small home gym. We're going to be diving deep into all of his products, including something that was I think you dang near broke the internet with this one. It's the Infinity Bench. So we're going to be talking a lot about that.
Absolutely.
Bassie, I see your question about the review I did, and I have not forgotten it. I'm not ignoring it, but I will address your question as soon as my interview with Jay is over, because I want to respect his time. Okay, so I'm not going to forget you. Just keep on hanging there with me. All right, so Jay, man, let's talk about this thing, man. First of all, I was checking out some of the interview you did with GoRx on the LFG RX podcast, and the first thing that jumped out to me was your home gym, which you're sitting in, is like 180 square feet. But from listening to that interview, it seems like your home gym being in a small space seems to have been a tremendous advantage in creating the products, because when you developed the wall-mounted GHD, the original floor GHD, which I happen to have downstairs, already existed. That was created by Brian Schwab out of Orlando Barbell. And so this is a floor model glute ham device developer. It already existed, but it's not what I would call space saving. It takes up a lot of floor space, right? So when I hang it up, I mean, it's heavy too. So when I take it off the wall, set it down, I got to put the plates on it to stop it from moving when I'm using it. Basically, you gotta walk wide around me, right? Your product has a fraction of the footprint. It's you got the wall mounted and then you got the rack mounted GHD. It's got a fraction of the footprint, and it does the same thing. And I'm gonna say it's because you've got your most recent home gym has that small footprint, so that's where your focus is. So how has being a home gym owner for decades and being a home gym owner and now in a small space helped you as a product developer?
I think it's helped immensely. First, John, I want to say thanks for having me on. This is a pleasure. Great to have some time getting exposure to people, and not only that, just being able to answer some questions. So I've this comes up all the time with the home gym. I'm 45 years old, so I've got some experience working out since I was 12, and this comes up on almost every interview I do. Like, I had a home gym long before they were cool. So my first home gym, I was 22 years old. That's going 23 years ago, and
that's back when people were telling us that if you had a. That's back when people were saying if you had a home gym, you weren't serious. If you were serious, you would join a real gym. They're like, oh, all you do is hang your laundry on all that equipment. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, and so I began in an attached garage. At that point in time, developing equipment was nothing I ever cared about. It was really just, it was a life necessity that I had to have a gym at home in order to continue my fitness goals, but also attain take care of my family and stuff like that. So over those years, I started in a garage. I ended up my next home. I ended up being in a basement that was massive. It was like a 400 square foot basement that I had room to do anything and everything I wanted to. And then after that is when I moved from Central New York down here to Charlotte, and I moved into a third stall garage, which is still a pretty decent sized space. It was about 220 square feet ish. But at that time, I wanted to start to do Nordic curls and some other work. And I really didn't have the space to do a traditional GHD. And at that time, I think cheapest ones were probably somewhere in like the $1,200 range. So not only did I want to spend $1,200, and I didn't want this huge GHD taking up such a large portion of my third stall garage. I was like, there's got to be something out there that's wall mounted I can put up there and I can start doing my Nordic curls and split squats off of, et cetera, et cetera. Well, lo and behold, there was nothing.
Well, let me ask you this.
I was like,
hang on. So what was it why didn't you? Did you try any of the ones that go on the floor? Any of the little floor models instead of
I
the
didn't
big
want to put
ones?
anything else on my floor.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, I didn't. And I mean, at the time, how I was doing them, you've probably seen YouTube videos before where you just put a 45-pound plate on a barbell. You put it down below your rack post. You get your heels up on it with maybe a cushion, maybe not. And then, you fall forward, right? So, I mean, it works. It
it's
can
not
get
ideal.
the job done to a degree.
Yeah.
So I was performing them that way, and that's when I just kind of decided I wanted something different. Lucky for me, I lived in Charlotte, so I was living about 10 minutes away from the Charlotte Speedway. So there are auto part manufacturers, welders out the wazoo, all even just in my neighborhood. So I was able to get to a welder who started my product, and believe it or not, the very first version that I had, you can see a little bit there on the wall down there in the red.
Okay, yeah. So for those of you who are just listening, he's got Jay's got a version of his wall mounted on the wall. You guys definitely want to watch this on replay if you're just listening, because he's got a really cool home gym setup there.
Yeah, we can, and I can kind of walk through it a little bit in a minute if we got time, but I want to make sure I get to all your questions.
Yeah.
So I really, the first version looked a little bit like a mini pull-up bar, and then went down the path of maybe this is the 5th iteration. It's the final version of it. It is patented, and this is what I use today. But I use both the wall-mounted and the rack-mounted version depending upon how I want to hit my Nordic curls. I really like using the rack mount version when I want to use bands and tie the bands up to the rack, so I can really slow down my tempo when it comes to doing the Nordic curls. Or if I've done some RDLs or something beforehand and my hamstrings are telling me they need a little bit of assistance doing Nordic curls, I can set it up that way. Because if I use the one on the wall, I don't have any hook on the wall where I could tie up a band to. That's really when I would start off with Nordic curls and really want to test myself on performing them, or if I really want to do them where I just do a light gentle push off the floor, I'll do that as well. So I can do it both ways. Now there's obviously no expectation for people to have 3 or 4 different ways to perform a Nordic curl, right? But this allows me to kind of choose what way I want to do it on any specific day. So they're both very space saving. If you notice the wall-mounted boot ham developer, it really takes up a very minimal amount of space. You really pretty much need 2 studs on your wall to mount that thing up, and you're good to go. And just make sure you can get it low enough so that way you can just put yoga blocks or something on the floor. I have molding, so mine's a little bit higher, so I go on to yoga blocks. But if you wanted to put it higher, you could, and use a bench. That's how I use. See that video right there? That's how I typically use my rack mounted version versus near the floor, because I can do the floor on the wall mount version. But you could rack this. I just did an install last weekend down in Nashville, Tennessee, with James Maslow. So if anybody doesn't know who he is, he's an actor and also was in a Big Time Rush. So I got the pleasure of doing an install at his house last week in Nashville. If you check out his page, you can see where the rack I put up is actually a custom rack of mine, and he can mount it both the rack mount version low and high, so he could do it either way. You just have to have that ability to have that front post available. So that's probably one of my favorite ways to perform Nordic curls, and you're taking advantage of equipment you already own. I mean, most people already own a bench, so all you need is the rack mount, hook it up to your rack, and bands, no bands, you can even adjust the incline bench up and down for progression. So if you're not great at them, you can just use your bench on an incline and start down that path.
All right. So I love that. One thing that jumped out to me when I went to your website, and everybody who's watching here, make sure that you go and visit Jay's website. I'll put that right there. You want to visit exponentedge.com so you can see all of his products. I mean, it's got some really cool, innovative stuff there. But one of the things that jumped out to me was that your products have a lot of options. So what I mean is you've got the GHD, for example, that we were just talking about. It's got a 2x2 option, a 3x3 option, and you sell inserts to convert the 3x3 to 2x3. If somebody has a 2x3 rack, they can still use that. So the thing, and then you do something similar with your Edge rackable cambered bar. You give a lot of options.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. That's not cheap, because every time you develop a product, you've got to test each one of those iterations. So how do you, as a business owner, balance giving as many options as possible to the customer with keeping costs down, because you're going to have to pass those costs on at some point to the consumer? So how do you strike that balance?
Well, the real honest answer here is that I'm not sure much of a balance is being struck when it comes to giving. So on the rack mounted version, and let me explain that further. So like I have a rack right here. This one's a 3x3, and this rack right here is a 2x2.
Okay.
So I have both racks. These are both prototypes of my rack. That's not out there yet, but it will eventually. It's got some pretty cool features on it. And at some point we can go over those someday. But so like, it's really not, I want to be able to attach stuff to both of my racks. Okay. And I know a lot of people out there have different size racks out there. Like you mentioned, 3x3, 5/8, 1 inch, or 2x2, 5/8, 1 inch. It really is not all that economical because there's a minimum order quantity that you have to purchase, right? So, hey, live and learn, right? But in this circumstance, what it does in these, when you have situations like this, is it allows me to have an opportunity to talk to my engineer to look at ways to reduce that footprint of 4 different models down to 1 or maybe 2 at most. So it's definitely taught us how to find better ways. So now you can see that happening on other future products down the road that will have the solution to making it so you can buy 1 or maybe 2 different versions to fit all rack options that exist out there, right? So there's others that do that today with a difference between a 5/8 pin or a 1 inch pin. Like I've got Clever built Android 2.0 landmine on there. So like that comes with the ability with a pin to fit either a 5/8 or a 1 inch. So you can interchange that. So it teaches you, earlier on to find ways to have a better solution because it is not cost effective to have 4 different versions of a rack mount GHD. But we're down the path of, I think we're getting close to it being 1, right. Or maybe 2, but still fit all of those different options. So,
got you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. So we are on here with Jay Benoit from ExponentEdge.com, and I've got a ton of questions for him. But I know that you guys who are consuming this right now, or maybe even people who are listening on replay, you have some questions for him also. So if you're watching this live, I know if you're at work, I don't want to get you in trouble with your boss, but take a second and type a question. If you got a question for Jay, put it in the chat, and I will ask him those questions. We'll make sure we get them answered for you. And then if you're watching on replay, put your questions in the comments section, and then I will get those questions to Jay so he can answer the questions for you. Because I know people have questions about the Infinity Bench. In fact, I got when I posted your Infinity Bench video on Instagram, I had a question immediately asked about it. So I'll ask you that question in a second. But
okay,
let's go ahead. So with the Infinity Bench, like I said, I thought that you were gonna break the internet, because literally I see the video, and after I see the video, I don't think 45 seconds passed before I slid into your DMs like, hey, Jay, hey, we go way back 2 months. Hey, man.
Yeah.
What's going on? First thing I was like, just what is this, right? But walk me through the process of coming up with the idea for the Infinity Bench. This thing is like a GoBot, man.
Yeah.
How did you? You don't need to tell me about the design process. I mean,
right.
Any like proprietary secrets or anything like that. But more about like So I get ideas when I'm in my home gym all the time. So I'm just picturing you're in your home gym, you're working out, and you're trying to do like overhead tricep extension, and you're like, this just isn't working. And so walk me through the process of how you're like, this isn't working, to let me scribble up some ideas on a pad or however you did next. Then you run next door to the neighbor and say, hey, I got an idea, right? So walk me through that process.
So it's pretty close to what you described. Like you mentioned, I'm a power builder. Yeah. So I've been bodybuilding a long time. So it means I like to have 9 bazillion options for all the exercises I'm going to do when I perform workouts. And so to be honest with you, I was tired of not having a bench where I couldn't utilize overhead work and not, like hit the top of the bench and stuff like that. So I brought my engineer over. I told him what I wanted to do. And he's like, yeah, we can absolutely do that. So now not only can I do overhead work, but at the same time we were talking about it because at the same time we were working on the infinity arm as well. And he's like, well, do you want it to just fold down or do you want it to also be able to do chest and back supported work like your infinity arm does? I said, well, let's do it all. So that process actually started.
That's an option? Hold on.
Oh yeah, dude. So it's nice. So my engineer really isn't entrenched in the exercise and fitness space.
Right.
So what that allows is like I can come up with the ideas from like a physiological or from like a need for what somebody's going to use the product for. He uses his mechanical engineering experience because he's with Rubbermaid, so he has tons of experience all along the path of engineering. And he can kind of explain from an engineering side, like what works, doesn't work, or even come up with some other ideas of things that even I didn't think about just because he has a whole totally different perspective. So when he said, well, why don't we make it so you can do chest supported work and back supported work like the infinity arm? I was like, then let's do it. So that process actually started almost a year ago. So the bench that you're seeing now, that's actually the second prototype. The first prototype needed some tweaks to it and some modifications to it, and now we have what we have here today that I can show in just a second. So it allows for chest supported work, back supported work, overhead work. I've been doing a number of different exercises, so you can do that work not just sitting on the seat for the bench, but you can do a lot of other stuff like on the chest supported. Like it really works in 3 different positions. So I know you wanted to, people probably asking, like, how many different combinations are there? Well, so like a pretty much standard bench.
That was going to be my next question. Like how many configurations?
So there's like 6 different degrees for the incline on the bench, all the way from flat to what will be 87 degrees versus 90 degrees. And then the seat can be used and adjusted in 3 different positions. And then the support pad comes in 2 different positions. It comes in one position because it locks into one spot, but it's usable in 3 different sections on the incline adjustments. So I can't run a permutation right now, but there's multiple options for you. So what I like is in the flat position, there's a number of different things I can do from a flat spot. Just think of like a bent over raise, right? Or I like to do some spider curls when I bend over because I call it like a super spider curl, because like a traditional spider curl, you're on a bit of like an incline leaning position, where in this one I'm really bent fully over doing a spider curl with my chest being supported on the device. And then you can go down even further into a next position where I like to do a lot of some additional bent over raises, like a butterfly raise. I can do chest flies in that position. And then if you go down to the bottom 3rd position, you can use it for things like hip thrusts and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of versatility to it, but originally the whole thing started because I just wanted to be able to do like an overhead barbell or military press with dumbbells. I want to do overhead extensions, obviously multiple variations to that from a tricep perspective. So whether it's just doing a barbell overhead extension or reverse barbell extension, you just can't flat do it without a half bench. And I really don't want to buy multiple benches, especially in a 180 square foot space. So this is really the solution to all of that. And I finally released this. This is patent pending. Ever since I filed it probably about 9 months ago. So protected there, but I had to make a couple tweaks to it, and that's what you see today. I know the videos give you a good idea, but if you want me to, I can walk over to a little bit. So I changed from the first version. I just changed the padding. This is a different padding than before. And you'll notice it's in a standing position on the very bottom. The reason why it stands, there's right here. This just protects the bench so it doesn't get ruined on the floor. Nope, nobody can see it.
Well, I mean, that's okay because most of the people who are in the audience are actually just listening right now, so they can't see anyway.
All right, cool. All right.
Yeah,
So and then also on the bottom, there's a pin. So that pin locks the bench into place. So that way, when it comes up, there's no falling forward of it, right? So there's a pin at the very bottom that locks it into place. So that was an engineer that came up with that piece. And then I think everyone else gets an idea of how to use this for all the other supported work and overhead work that you really want to do. So like I've had this for a couple of weeks, and then I make sure everything gets also wife approved. I'm like, hey, bench good. And you're like, she's like, oh no, I use it all the time. So she's loving it too. So we've had it for a couple of weeks, putting it through the tests. And then another question is, people are going to ask, like, so what kind of weight can this support? I've done multiple testing on my own. The next test, like I told you, I sat on it doing seated curls on the chest supported section with 100-pound dumbbells. Well, I wasn't doing curls with 100-pound dumbbells. I was just doing shrugs to see if it could handle that, because we tested it right now. So a conservative number right now is 500 pounds.
Okay.
It could likely go further. My engineer is going to do a full test on that, but a minimal of 500 pounds. I was standing on it with a barbell. I didn't do pictures of that yet, because that's just in case something bad happened. But I stood on it with a barbell on my back with weights on it. So definitely putting it through the ringer to make sure that it can handle anything. You got to remember that's like direct weight. So if you're doing chest supported or back supported work, and you're a 250-pound guy, it's not 250 pounds of pressure on it because you've got your feet on the floor or something like that. It's a much reduced amount.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm just I'm sensitive about that thing because.
Oh yeah.
So I weigh 225, right? And I bench 360. Okay. So if I subtract out, so let's say, let's subtract 25 pounds because my feet are on the floor. I'm like, well, I don't want a bench that's only got like a 400-pound weight limit because I just
that's
exceeded.
Just the chest.
Yeah, you know,
that's just the chest supported part. Yeah. The bench. Yeah. I don't even know what number that is, but just the chest supported device on its own.
I mean, I know you sat on it, but your engineer. How does your engineer test the benches out? Like,
so the nice thing is. Yeah, so there's a combination of the nice thing is certain engineering softwares have the ability to do testing for you. So the software can actually add weight to something and show tensile strength and like at what point does the weight start to make it bend. And the programming can actually do that. Now, you don't want to always 100% depend on just the programming. You want to be able to do some other things on your own, whether it's at the factory or test it on your own with some of the things that I mentioned. So the software has the ability to actually test that. And we've done that on some of our other products too. So think about like the landmine jack. That one was also a software generated test where we had to go up to 500 pounds. And it did absolutely nothing to the landmine jack. I mean, it's all steel and it's the angles on it are designed specifically to be able to handle significant weight. It's just, with a landmine jack, you're only putting weight on one side of the device, so it's only got to handle a certain amount. So, those things like the software, in a lot of cases, I'm sure even other manufacturers out there, they're testing it in software to show them at what point does it bend, and then after you find out that information, you can decide if you need to make it stronger or if that's good, and then do your own personal testing.
What how heavy is it? I saw that it stores in the upright position. How heavy is it?
It's 80 pounds, so it's pretty similar to to most other standard benches that are out there. I think I have a rep bench in here right now. I think my rep bench is 83 pounds, so it's pretty close to the same weight. Mm-hmm. All right, I don't have leg rollers on mine, so
what So let's talk about pre-orders, because this thing, you're taking pre-orders right now, and so. One question. So I told you that there was a question on Instagram when I posted it, and I don't want to forget it. So the question they had was, is there going to be free shipping? So do you guys do free shipping?
Yeah. So on any and all of my products that are over $100, it's free shipping. Okay. So free shipping, the bench is going to be more than $100. So that's posted on the, that's also on like the pre-order form. So I would say on the pre-orders, I haven't initiated the product on my website yet to actually make the purchase. I've been gathering interest on the pre-order. So the expectation is I would my plan is to make the pre-order go live very soon.
Okay.
I've done pre-orders in the past, some successful, some not as successful.
Yeah.
So there's a caution around it, right? But for anyone out there who wants to know like an estimated time frame, I should be making that decision probably in the next few days on what I'm going to do here. And that would mean a projected or a really good estimated shipping date would be like the middle of June for everyone to get the bench, which in our industry, it's really not that it can sound far away, but it's really not.
No, it's not.
So, but that's probably the likely time frame to get it. And I know I did a pre-order on the Gugner dumblers, which I like those things too. So like when you saw me doing the overhead tricep extensions on my bench, I was using the dumbler. I love that, man. It allows me to do some things that my other dumbbells can't. I think I waited like almost 10, 11 months for that thing. It got manufacturing delayed, but I know from what with my manufacturer and stuff like that there wouldn't be a delay like that. If there is, it would be like a week or two at most. So
all right, so the current you're saying that with pre-orders it's going to be a little less, so but like $589 and it'll be $6 something once it actually hits the actual. It's just in production run for stock. Just normal purchase, right? Yeah, in stock. The only thing I think is with the June release is I'm assuming you're going to have it at Home Gym Con, and that seems like a good. I mean, obviously, I want people to be able to do pre-orders like right now, but it seems like Home Gym Con would actually be a good place to do pre-order to kind of gauge interest, because you've got people who are like that's the target audience, right? And so they're all going to be right there. So are you going to take like that one that you have there with you for people to play with?
I plan to bring this bench with me to Home Gym Con. Yeah. Gather some interest as well as I think I'll bring just about everything that I own to Home Gym Con for people to check out. So I'm not sure that there's anything that would exclude at this point in time, except, I mean, there's some things that like I have a wall mounted kettlebell holder. I'm not gonna have anything to mount it to there. I mean, I could always bring it to check out possibly, but there might be some things that don't show up just because I can't really show it. Like as far as putting up a plywood wall and mounting a kettlebell holder to it and stuff, we'll see. But like little things like that won't be there. But definitely, the rackable candle bar would be there. The bench will be there. I'll have landmine jack there with me, and I'll have some other probably stuff that comes along as well.
Are you going to be giving a discount to the people at Home Gym Con?
Yeah. So anyone that comes there personally, they'll get a discount while we're there. I haven't created the discount code yet, but I will create it for anyone who's there specifically. You're right. I also bring like a pre-order. They could pre-order for the bench right there. I would have it on my laptop ready to go. Or if they'd rather just be notified, like when it's in stock, I can take email addresses and stuff like that as well. So that's the plan to go there. Like I like that you mentioned gaining interest while we're at Home Gym Con. That is definitely a great idea. It's the question that I've been saying is, do I want to wait that long to garner that interest? Because if I waited till then, the wait for the bench would certainly be longer. Those are the things that as a creator we have to kind of contemplate in both scenarios. Unlike what a lot of people think, we don't have money coming out the wazoo to be able to buy like I get questions all the time. I know you mentioned to me before about like personal training versus customers. You get a lot of stuff all the time. Like, hey man, I'll wait to get that bench till it's in blue. Well, you could be waiting a couple of years because like I have to make a decision.
Is there enough interest?
Minimum order quantities. It all costs money. If I had, $500,000 sitting in the bank, sure, I'll make it in red, blue, green, and black and white. Sure. But that's not the case right now. So it comes in black.
Hey, like Wesley Snipes said in Pasture 57, always bet on black. Let me ask you this. So when I said the thing about Home Gym Con, I wasn't suggesting that you wait on the pre-order. What I was saying is like, you know how like you can do like limited runs. You say, okay, well, for this first run, if you want to get on the list for the first run, you jump in the pre-order now. Well, then if you're at Home Gym Con, now you're going to be on the waiting list for the second run, because then that shows me that people still want this. So it's worth it to me to create another production run. And I think that that's
Absolutely.
one of those things is like where you stagger it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that makes absolute sense. Hey, listen, I would love to be doing this first round of pre-orders and burn right through those and then go to Home Gym Con in a month and a half from now, or actually a little more than a month and a half, and garner just as much interest, if not more, when I'm there on the product, right? So I mean, I'm going in front of a couple thousand different people that this is what they care about because they're coming to Home Gym Con versus me, posting something on social, right? So I don't know who it gets to and stuff like that. So should be a more directed target audience versus something on simply social, right?
And I mean
yeah.
That's the thing too, is like you have, it's even better than if you went to somewhere like Ursa. I was talking about Ursa earlier, but you go to the home gym owners are a lot more picky about the smaller elements of design and function than say the owner of Lifetime Fitness would be, because they're going to say, well, okay, how much is my lease going to cost? What's the maintenance contract look like if something goes wrong? So it's not, I don't have pieces of equipment down. Can you handle outfitting? There's like 200 or something. 208. I just looked it up. I didn't just happen to know. There's 208 Lifetime Fitness locations, right? Can you outfit all 208 Lifetime Fitness locations with 15 of these? Do you have the production capacity? That's what they care about. Home Gym Con, people are going to be like, okay, is this clear coat? What kind of bolts do you have on here? You're going to want to know, like the first thing I thought was like, what kind of pad surface is that? Because I'm like, is this going to be a slicker or grippier pad surface? Like those are the things that we think about, you know what I mean? So I think that it's one of those things where you're going to get what I would consider more actionable feedback at Home Gym Con than you would get if you went to the Idea Expo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that at Home Gym Con, the people who are standing there making the purchase are also the ones using it. When you go to Ursa, the person making the purchase may not be the one using it. So they're not necessarily, they're looking at market trends. They're not saying, okay, I'm going to use this. And they also, I would say the advantage is that in a public gym, they have to buy stuff that fits the widest gamut of the population. Whereas at Home Gym Con, it's like, I'm buying something that works for me, my wife. That's it, And so you're going to get people who are like, they're going to ask you questions that you've never thought of simply because like you seem like you're fairly tall. So somebody who's like 5'5" is going to have questions about how the bench works that wouldn't occur to you because why would it? You haven't been 5'5" since you were in 8th grade. You know what I mean? So it's like, you had a home gym then, but you weren't thinking like the way you are now. You know what I mean? So I just think that's the value of it. Then you're also going to have some other people there, who are going to be seeing it, who other manufacturers, they'll come up and they'll ask you questions. And sometimes the questions they ask, they won't even mean to help you, but they're asking you a question. You're like, huh? And you just write that down. Like, okay, yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. Appreciate it. Let me ask you this. Do you, are you able to make everything in the US or did you have to do overseas production?
So I actually started everything here in the US. Like I mentioned, I lived in auto parts manufacturing, one of the top, capitals of the country with auto parts, since we're right down here in Charlotte near the Speedway. And I was having like the wall mount group developer, the rack mount made their landmine jack, some other things as well. And, eventually what it really came down to is I would love to get everything here. I'm still talking to other US manufacturers on some other products that actually might be able to be made here. The problem was, I know you did the Chalk interview where they were talking about stuff being manufactured overseas, and I just wonder how many people really realize how much is actually made over there. And in order for us to be, in order for me to be competitive and actually sell product, there isn't a whole lot of option when it comes to this. Either I'd have to dramatically increase prices, and we know what happens when you do that. Just people aren't going to buy. But understand, that everything is designed, tested, engineered, and everything here. And then we use reputable manufacturers like all the other exercise equipment manufacturers out there. And I love that session where they were talking about knowing where everybody gets their stuff from. It's real simple to find out where everybody gets it from. And I think a lot of people would be more surprised if they were doing some research. So just knowing that, but I would love to one day return things back here. There's a pretty cool manufacturer that's out in Pennsylvania that I'm working with. I was working with them long before. They were very price competitive. Still not quite in line with overseas, but they were darn close when you factored into both the manufacturing lead time as well as the shipping costs. Not quite there, but close enough to consider. So I'm trying to work with them again on some other products that I have that might be a potential fit here in the U.S. So that's kind of like my comments too. I wish I could have everything made here in the U.S.
I mean,
just from a price
it's not
perspective,
necessary
it's a
for
real tough thing to
me.
do.
So for me, I'm not. I mean, I love American.
Yeah, garage gym experiment.
But but I also am. I'm pragmatic because there's tons of stuff that we use I mean, my phone wasn't made here in America, and I use that, right? So at the same time, I would say that for me, from a home gym owner's perspective, the reason why I asked the question isn't because I just want everything to be made in America. It's I understand, because I've interviewed multiple people who own brands. I understand you place an order with a Chinese factory or Indian factory, and that first run is amazing. All right. You flew over there, you checked it. Well, then, 3 runs down the road, if standards slip a little bit, are you going to go over there and double check every time they make another production run for you? That makes it more expensive. And so if you're going to manufacture overseas, what you have to have is a good infrastructure in place. You got to have somebody on the ground in the country who has zero remorse, who's going in there to hurt feelings if they don't meet your standards, because you can't go there every 5 minutes to just check on stuff. Even if you were here, if it was here in the United States, you couldn't just drop everything you do to go check on the factory, but it would just be a little bit easier if you're getting, if the factory's in Pennsylvania compared to wherever in China, right? So that's the only reason why I bring it up. But to your point, there are tons of manufacturers who make a lot of stuff that we use every day in the home gym community, and we just don't realize that their products are made overseas. That being said, I do want to address somebody who's in the chat who claims I'm picking on him for being short, right? Well, the facts are, Carlos, you are short. Okay, you're 5'6". All right. But I will say this, that Carlos is actually your intended consumer, because his home gym, he's got a great home gym. It's in an apartment, and we actually have a gym tour of his apartment home gym here on the YouTube channel. So inside his apartment, he's got a small home gym space, right? So the stuff that you make is tailor-made for him. You know what I mean? Because it's small, space saving, and gets the job done. So Carlos, if you have any questions, we're getting ready to wrap things up. But if you have any questions for Jay, you definitely want to reach out. Go ahead and drop those questions in the chat right now. And then we can go ahead and knock those out. But he's at work, so he's kind of sneaking, talking to us while he's at work. So I guess I'm interfering with the American economy right now, because I got him listening to me instead of working. I apologize, my bad. But now I just think like you have a small space, and I know I asked that in the beginning, but it just seems to me that this small space solutions are the things that will open up home gym ownership to a lot of people. I actually just helped a guy set up a home gym, and he's like, I want to still be able to park my car in my garage. So he needs small space solutions, So just the fact that you said you're coming out with your own racks or whatever, I know they're going to be designed for a small space because that's what you have, So we're going to be doing a home gym tour with you in the near future, and it'll be a dedicated home gym tour because I want people to see what you've been able to do in a small space. That's why I said it was so important, because everybody doesn't have a garage with tons of space or a basement with just, just it looks like they got an acre of land underneath their house or whatever. So yeah, that small space is no joke, man. One more Home Gym Con question. So
Yeah.
I asked a couple other people this. Let's say somebody flies to Home Gym Con. They see your bar and they love it. Your rackable camera bar. They love it. If they buy that thing, how are they going to get it on the airplane? Answer, they're not. So can they buy it from you there, get the discount, but they're like, hey, look, let's just go on your website and you ship it to my house. So me and the bar get there at the same time. And that's what I was thinking of. Like, if you've got your prototypes there, then they can still order it, get the discount, but then it ships to their house. Will you have that set up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure exactly how much of product I would actually bring with me to purchase while we're there. So the discount that I would be providing would be not only while we're there, but also allow people a little bit of time afterwards, even when they return home. So that was my goal of what to be able to do. Because not everyone's going to have the capability to buy stuff and bring it home with them. And then also for me, I'm not going to have the capability to bring truckloads of stuff with me down there as well. So it's one of those things where my plan was to offer a code discount to anyone that was there, that if, what I have on me, they can purchase, but if not, they can also purchase it online and get that discount code and have it shipped to them. Now they might have to wait a couple of days because the person shipping it to them is going to be me. So they might just have to wait till I return home to be able to get that product to them. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So absolutely.
Well, my man, I've already got these. I've got the banners going across here showing. So we want people to follow Exponent Edge on Instagram. It's at Exponent Edge. You're going to get to see a ton of his stuff. Then we also want you guys to check out his website, and that's going to be exponentedge.com. And so you guys can check out the products that he has there. He's got a bar that is designed for bodybuilding. So it's got, the knurling is not aggressive, so you can use it for a lot of high rep work. It's not necessarily a beater bar, but it is a bar that is it's a mixed use barbell that's designed for people who are just like lifting for fitness, not necessarily CrossFit. So I think that's really cool. Before you go, man, is there anything? This is your moment to just let everybody know. Is there anything that you want to reveal to the people who are watching? Let's pay them back for hanging in with us since 6 a.m.
Yeah, so a reveal. Listen, I'm here for the home gym community for things outside of just exercise equipment. Like you mentioned, power building. Listen, I've done everything from bodybuilding for the majority of my early career to power building. I do lots of landmine and kettlebell work. I'm not like a kettlebell expert or anything like that. I've run marathons, certified personal trainer, certified nutrition coach. So like there's a gamut of things that if people really just want to ask some questions. Like hit me up on Instagram or social, send me a DM. Anything that I'm qualified to answer, I will answer for you, whether that's product related, workout related. And I've got, I've had another career outside of just this. I have 3 boys at home. So like, I understand, where people come from when it comes to conflicting priorities and getting workouts in their hectic life schedule. So like, if you just need someone to run by something like that off of, like I'm here for you. You don't have to buy something for me in order for me to help you out a little bit if I can. So that's kind of like what I would say. And stay tuned for some new stuff because there's a lot of stuff in the works. So can't wait to bring some more unique and innovative stuff to people.
All right. Well, my man, Jay, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging out with us here on the Way Too Early for Friday podcast. I definitely want you to come back because this was a lot of fun, man. And you got a lot of good information. And I'm looking forward to doing, I'll connect with you so we can do that home gym tour because I think it'll be really cool. All right. I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely.
Have a good time.
Thanks for
have
the
a good
invite.
day, dude.
Everybody have a great day.
Yeah, man. Later. All right. And so that was my man, Jay Benoit from Exponent Edge. Jay's an awesome dude. As you guys can see, he's got a long, many, many decades of home gym ownership from when he was a little kid. So this is the products that you get from him are products that were made by and for the home gym community. And you guys are watching the Way Too Early for a Friday podcast, a Garage Gym Life Media production. We'll be right back to close up the show. Okay, so let's jump into the comment section. We got a few comments that I wasn't able to answer. So let's see. Trey says I have a pretty extensive home gym myself. Hey man, best gym in town, dude. A home gym to me is the best gym in town because you custom tailor it to yourself. I do not like cookie cutter home gyms. I love the fact that you can set up a home gym and you can set up that home gym in such a way that it meets your needs and it changes with your needs. So you might start out lifting more like, say, a bodybuilder, right? And then you get interested in CrossFit. Well, now you can change all your home gym equipment to match that. And you say, nah, I want to start competing in strongman. Well, now you start getting all this strongman equipment. Then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go to powerlifting. Now you got to, you know what I mean? You can just do that. It can change and flex with you. My home gym has changed multiple times. It looked different from when I was helping my kids get ready for wrestling and football when they were young. And it looked different then compared to when I was just training myself to compete in the sport of powerlifting. It looked different, and it looks different from both of those when I was doing it, you know, basically to support the fact that I'm a martial artist. Okay. So you can custom tailor it. And just like a custom tailored suit is more valuable than a suit that you just buy off the rack. So to me, a home gym that's custom tailored to you is more valuable than going to a public gym and kind of just renting time on equipment that was designed to be cookie cutter and fit the most body types possible. All right. Then let's see here. I'm gonna jump on this here. So Bassi Abera, I hope I said your name correctly. I hope I did not mispronounce that. So his question is, he says, I see you reviewed the Makolo F4 power cage in a few videos. I'm thinking of buying it due to ceiling height. Are there any other short power cages you recommend, or should I just go ahead and get the Makolo F4? All right, that's a good question. And I'm going to tell you 100% you should get the Body Solid. If you're looking for a short power rack, you want to get the Body Solid GPR 400. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to pull this up and we'll see if we can't pull it up here. I'll pull up their Instagram because they've got it on their Instagram. And Body Solid is actually at Ursa right now. We mentioned Ursa a couple of times. They were at the Arnold, but they are at Ursa right now. And I'm just scrolling down. I know I'm going to find it. It's going to be here. So the GPR 400. So here's a picture of it. Let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, here you go, Bassi. I'm going to share the screen with you so you guys can see it. So this is a GPR. This that was installed by Texas Garage Gym Builders. So you guys can see that's a GPR 400 right there. It looks like it's the GPR 400 FT. And they've got the FT and then they've got the FTS. And the difference in those is the FT is plate loaded for well, that's got the rower attachment to it, but it's plate loaded functional trainer, and then the FTS is a selectorized functional trainer, and then this is it with the GPR 400 with their grow rower attachment. But I'm scrolling down because I know I saw it. Because Body Solid has a commercial and a home line. I believe this is it. Okay, that's just the setup. And that's a hip thruster attachment. I know you guys are like, yeah, man, you're taking forever to get to it. But all right, here it is. See, I told you it was on here. All right, so this is the Body Solid GPR 400 with Body Solid GPR 400 right there. So they have an SPR, that's their commercial rack, and then what they did is they took the GPR 400, and the GPR 400 is commercial spec, but it's shorter, so it fits in a home gym. And I'm gonna just tell you that Body Solid, if I just have to recommend, and there's another shot of the GPR 400. If I'm going to recommend a rack that's in the family of the Makolo, or I did the Major Ludi, or they call themselves Major Fitness now. There's the Raptor F22. Anything in that family of products, I would go with the Body Solid GPR 400. The GPR is a much sturdier rack. It has, and I've actually seen it in person. The weight horns have a 600-pound. If you're going to use the GPR FT model, which is plate loaded, the weight horns have a 600-pound weight capacity, and then the GPR FTS model, which you're seeing right there, has 2 separate 210-pound weight stacks. Okay. So there's a shot of it. And so you can get, if you got the GPR 400, then that's just going to be the rack. But then you can put attachments on it because it's got so many things that that they've built for it. So I talked about the rower. They've got the functional trainer attachment. A lot of different things that you can put on that rack. So if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get the GPR 400. The other thing I like about it is you can actually reach out to my guy Ashton at Functional. You can reach out to Ashton at Freedom Fitness Equipment. Okay, he is the authorized Body Solid dealer, and he can ship that to you. But if you're in the local area, you can actually walk up there and try it. If you're going to be at Home Gym Con, they'll be there as well, so you can go there and you put your hands on it. But Body Solid sells through their authorized dealers. So you go to bodysolid.com and look under the dealer locator tab, and it'll show you the dealers they have that are in your city. You go over there and you can actually try it in person. Okay. With a Makolo, you got to just wait till it gets to your house to see if you like it or not. And I also tell you that the GPR 400 uses a heavier gauge steel than the Makolo does. The Makolo uses, I think it was 14 gauge steel, but all I remember is I was tightening the bolts and the metal was dimpling just from me cranking down on the bolts. Okay. That's not a warm and fuzzy feeling for me when I know this thing is supposed to keep 300, 400, 500 pounds from falling on me. Okay. Yeah, we're not. So to answer your question is you need to, I would recommend the GPR 400 if you're looking for a rack that is dependable, that will grow with you, and that is similar to the Makolo. Trey 9, thank you so much for the 1999 super sticker. So this is the first super sticker that anyone has ever purchased on one of our live streams, and I appreciate the support. That is one of the ways that you can support our brand. You can do the super chat. You can use, if you want to ask a question, you can use super stickers if you just want to show your support for the brand. And man, thank you so much. I appreciate you for doing that. Shout out to my mom. My mom watches every show, watches everything that we put up. And she's always here. So everybody say hi to my mom. And my mother says she agrees with me about the refurbished barefoot shoes. Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. All right. Definitely not doing that, mommy. All right. So 1Trey9 says exactly. All right. So that was the show. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me for so long. Being here with us. You know, this was a slightly longer show than usual. And so I appreciate you, Ryan. Yeah, 1Trey9 says, what's up, mommy? All right, guys. So once again, thank you for being here for the Way to Vertical Friday podcast. Once again, next week we got Kayvon Kuzani from the Bells of Steel, and he's going to be here. We've also got Pulling Games champion Garvina Rout joining the show. And so I'm looking for an exciting, another action-packed episode. Plus, we're going to have your home gym dance party videos. We're going to have your home gym workout videos. We're going to react to those. So once again, thank you so much. Share this video. If you enjoyed the content, share it with somebody who needs to see it. And we'll see you next week. Once again, way too early for a Friday podcast. Have a great day.